Hi, I'm Lauren, and on my 20th birthday, my sister told me I was adopted, like it was news. But what she didn't know is that I'd already found out, weeks ago, alone. What no one's asking is, why now? Why tell me right after cake? Why was my birth mother institutionalized? And why did my father sign her away? They thought I'd fall apart. Instead, I started pulling at the seams, and what unraveled wasn't just my story. It was theirs, too. What would you do if your entire family built a lie around your name? I should have known something was off the moment I walked into the living room. The whole house was too quiet, too still. The air smelled like vanilla cake, the kind that only shows up in commercials or Hallmark movies. But we weren't that kind of family. Mom never baked, not even at Christmas, and definitely not on birthdays, except today. She sat stiffly on the couch, her hands resting on her lap like she didn't know what to do with them. Dad, Lowell, stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, not even pretending to smile. I hovered by the doorway, 20 years old and still in my pajamas. I thought maybe this was their awkward version of a surprise party, but then Sabrina opened her mouth. "You know you're adopted, right?" she said, like she was offering me the weather report. I didn't blink, didn't move. I just looked at her. That smug little curve at the corner of her mouth. She wanted a reaction, maybe tears, maybe a scene. She wasn't going to get one. I turned toward the cake. 3 uneven layers, slathered in pale pink icing. "Happy 20th, Lauren," written in shaky letters. It looked like a joke now, a distraction, a prop in a twisted play. What stung wasn't the news. I'd already known. What gutted me was that it came from her. 3 weeks ago, while digging through the hallway cabinet looking for my health card, I found an envelope shoved behind tax files. Inside, a copy of a birth certificate, my name, and a mother I'd never heard of. Marjorie Gine. No father, no familiar surname, no trace of Deborah or Lowell. I'd kept the secret to myself, letting it simmer while I searched the name online, ran public record searches, and printed out pages at the public library. I even looked up old news stories, some of which made my stomach twist. But I wasn't ready to confront anyone, not yet. I wanted the truth, not just from a paper trail, but from their mouths. And now Sabrina, my sister, if I could still call her that, decided to rip the curtain open in the middle of my birthday cake reveal. "They didn't tell you?" she added, twisting the knife. "Wow, that's cold." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt, but my hands stayed loose, my voice even. "Well," I said, "happy birthday to me." Lowell finally moved. He picked up the knife and started slicing the cake, as if someone hadn't just lobbed a grenade into the room. Mom didn't say a word, not one damn thing. The silence was louder than any scream. I waited a beat. Maybe they'd explain, maybe they'd lie. But they didn't bother. It was done. A quiet execution. And like always, they left Sabrina to do the dirty work. I stepped forward, took a slice, set it on a plate, then turned to them. "Thanks for the cake," I said, my tone so polite it was poison. "And the performance, real top-shelf stuff." Neither of them looked at me. The knife clinked against the ceramic plate, and that was it. I left the room. No one followed. No one asked me to stay. Back in my bedroom, I moved fast, grabbed the duffel bag I kept under the bed, the one I'd quietly started filling after I found that birth certificate. A change of clothes, cash, documents, my old notebook with scribbled names and addresses I wasn't supposed to have. I zipped it shut in seconds. I didn't cry. Not then, not even a little. They thought they'd knock the air out of me, but the truth was, I'd been holding my breath around them for years. I walked past the fridge on my way out. The cake was still there, untouched. Linked to next chapter. They thought I'd cry when they kicked me out. I smiled instead, and they didn't even notice. I stood still on the porch, duffel bag strapped over my shoulder, the silence pressing down harder than anything said at the table. Then I heard footsteps behind me, measured, deliberate. Lowell. I didn't turn around. "You forgot this," he said, setting another duffel bag at my feet like it was a casual delivery. "We figured you'd leave today. That one has extra clothes, some cash. Should keep you going for a while." I glanced down. Same black bag I'd seen him carry to the trunk before family road trips. Reused and repurposed. Like me. Thanks for the generosity, I said. My voice was steady. It scared me how easy it was to sound polite in a moment like this. Behind him, Deborah hovered in the doorway. Her arms were crossed, lips pale. She didn't say anything. She never did unless it was rehearsed. That woman could go silent for hours if the mood suited her. But today, I could see the script she'd memorized burning behind her eyes. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't heartbroken. She was prepared. That was when it hit me. This wasn't some emotional fallout. This had been planned. They didn't stumble into a difficult truth. They set the stage and handed Sabrina the first line. "You're a smart girl, Lauren," Lowell added. "You'll figure things out. Independence builds character." I almost laughed. Not because he was funny, but because I could hear the lie wrapped in Hallmark wisdom. The kind of line a man says when he wants to be seen as the reluctant hero, firm but caring. I leaned forward slightly, just enough to meet his gaze. "Don't worry. I figured you out a long time ago." His jaw twitched, but he didn't respond. Deborah looked away, arms hugging herself tighter. I picked up the second bag and stepped past him. Down the porch steps, down the walk, not once looking back. If they'd rehearsed a goodbye, I wasn't going to give them a performance. By the time I hit the sidewalk, the wind picked up. Early spring chill bit through my sweater sleeves, but I kept walking, block after block, past the little corner store where Dad used to buy Sunday papers, past the bus stop where Mom once made me wait in the rain because she lost track of time. Everything familiar looked fake now, like props. I didn't pull out my phone. I didn't text anyone. No one to call. No one I trusted enough yet. It took me 20 minutes to reach the edge of town, where the park sat quiet and nearly empty. I settled onto a cold bench near the fountain, legs stiff, breath sharp. A few high school kids rode bikes in the distance, their laughter echoing like it came from another life. I bent down and peeled back the inner sole of my left shoe. Tucked inside, just as I left it, was the tiny black flash drive, my backup, my real insurance policy. I opened my notebook and wrote one sentence. I didn't stay long at the park. The wind picked up, and with every passing hour, the cold bit harder through my sleeves. Around 9:30 p.m., I opened my notebook and flipped to a page I'd marked days ago. Cheap hostel listings, all cash, no ID required, just in case. I circled one, then I walked. 10 blocks. No streetlights for half of it. No one noticed me. That was the point. The man behind the front desk didn't ask questions. I gave him $30 and a fake name I'd used once for a library card. He slid a key across the counter and pointed upstairs. The room was no bigger than a closet. The mattress was thin, the heater rattled, and the bathroom light flickered when I turned it on. I slid the desk in front of the door and used my duffel bag as a pillow. I didn't sleep, but I survived the night. That was enough. By sunrise, I was already heading to the library, moving fast, before anyone had time to look too close. That place was my shelter long before I needed it to be, quiet, neutral. No one there expected eye contact or conversation. Just pages and silence. 3 weeks ago, I'd found the envelope that flipped everything. I wasn't snooping, I was looking for my insurance card. The file cabinet drawer jammed, and when I tugged harder, it gave way too far. Papers spilled. One unlabeled manila folder slid out. Inside, a birth certificate. Mine. Name, Lauren DeFeo. Mother, Marjorie Gine. Father, blank. At first, I thought it was fake, or a mistake, but everything matched. Date, place, hospital. I ran the name online. The deeper I dug, the more it twisted. Marjorie wasn't a criminal, but she'd vanished from every traceable system right after I was born. Sabrina had never once asked me about that envelope, and I never told her I found it. But now, I wondered, had she known all along? I stayed in the library until late morning, scrolling through newspaper archives, scanning what little I could onto my second flash drive. When my eyes started burning, I walked back to the hostel, head low, heart steady. The second I opened the door, I knew something was off. My duffel bag was unzipped. The chair I'd wedged against the door had been nudged, barely, but enough. I crouched next to the dresser, pulled up the loose floor tile. The envelope. Gone. My chest tightened, not from fear, but fury. Someone came for what I'd hidden. I dumped my bag onto the bed, rifled through every pocket. Notebook, intact. Flash drive, still in my sock. It wasn't a robbery, it was a search, and not just by anyone. My mind went back to the library yesterday. Someone had stood behind me in the microfilm aisle, just out of view. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I remembered the shoes, black Converse, faded white laces. Sabrina, she'd been there, pretending to text, maybe watching, she knew. Maybe not just yesterday, maybe since the beginning. Maybe she wasn't just cruel, maybe she was planted. The thought made my skin crawl. I sat down slowly, opened my notebook, flipped past sketches and names and half-finished timelines, and wrote something new at the top of a blank page. They don't get to tell my story. I do. Link to next chapter? That's when I heard the name Inez for the first time. And everything changed. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the thin mattress in the hostel, eyes wide open, the overhead light buzzing faintly. My mind kept circling around Sabrina. How many times had I ignored the signs? How many quiet questions, glances over my shoulder? Coincidences at the library. I kept seeing her in that black hoodie, tapping away at her phone by the archive window. Pretending. Always pretending. They had me under surveillance long before I ever asked for the truth. I pulled the covers tighter and made a decision. At sunrise, I'd go back to the library. I wouldn't just search for Marjorie. I'd go deeper. Ridgewell, Inez, anyone who came before me and disappeared without noise. If they were going to erase me like her, they'd have to work harder. By 7:15 the next morning, I was already hunched over the microfilm reader. I'd skipped breakfast, skipped everything except this. I started with Ridgewell Behavioral Center. It barely existed online, scrubbed, like so many of the things connected to that family. But the library had archived local papers back to the early 2000s, and that's where I found her. Student journalist disappears after investigation into Ridgewell Center. Byline: Glenda Doss. Date: March 2006. Inez Shipman, 23, journalism grad student. She'd been digging into Ridgewell, focusing on rumors of unorthodox therapy techniques, and a woman identified only as Marjorie G. Her last recorded movement? Seen at the downtown bus terminal. After that, nothing. Vanished. And no one followed up. I leaned back, the microfilm machine still humming. Inez had been asking the same questions I was now. The same name, the same path, and she disappeared. Not a coincidence. I printed the article and tucked it deep into my bag. Back at the hostel, I barely closed the door behind me when my phone rang. Blocked number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? A long pause. Then a voice, low, gravelly, like someone forcing the words through clenched teeth. Stop digging into Ridgewell. You're not her. My fingers went numb, but I didn't hang up. I waited. Nothing else. Click. I stood frozen in the middle of the room. That wasn't Sabrina. That wasn't even a warning. It was a decision waiting to be acted on. Someone was watching me, and now they wanted me to know it. And suddenly, all the pieces fit. Sabrina didn't just know. She was part of it. That wasn't just spying. That was strategy. That was a job. And she wasn't doing it for herself. She was doing it for Lowell. She wasn't protecting the family. She was protecting him. That realization made my stomach turn. Not because it was shocking, but because deep down, I had always suspected it. I moved fast. No panic. No wasted motion. I stuffed the USB drive and my most important notes into a manila envelope, headed straight to the bus terminal, and rented a locker in the back row. The key went straight onto a chain under my shirt. Then I pulled out the article again. Glenda Doss. She was the only byline on the Inez story. If she was still alive, maybe she hadn't forgotten. I found a number, left a voicemail that felt like rolling dice. If you knew Inez, I think you know what's happening to me too. The call came in at 2:07 a.m. My phone vibrated on the nightstand like it was shaking with me. I answered without thinking. Lauren? A woman's voice, older, ragged, but not weak. It cracked like a branch under pressure. This is Glenda. You left a message. About Inez? I sat up. Yes, I think I'm on the same path she was. and I think someone's trying to make sure I don't finish it. Silence then. You don't know how deep this goes. Her words dropped like ice water down my spine. Inez was smart, she continued. Determined. She didn't scare easy. But Ridgewell wasn't about treatment. It was containment. If you got too close, you got tagged. Tagged? They follow you, like a shadow you didn't know you had. I swallowed hard. My mom, Marjorie, what do you know about her? She tried to stop them. She filed complaints, threatened to go public. Next thing I knew, she was gone. Same week I got reassigned, no warning, no goodbye. Glenda exhaled shakily. They don't let people leave. They erase them. We agreed to meet the next night, outside the old Ridgewell grounds. Discreet, no tech, no names spoken aloud. She was terrified, but still willing to talk. That told me everything I needed to know about what we were up against. After I hung up, I sat there in the dark. The walls felt closer, like even silence had ears. So I got to work. I pulled up the cloud account I used to store documents. One of them, a dummy file I'd labeled Real Identity Certificate, had been accessed. IP log, Lowell's home address. I'd planted it as bait, and he took it. That confirmed it. He was watching. Always had been. And now he knew I was watching back. The next call came 2 hours later, just as the sun was pushing pale blue through the curtains. Lowell. I didn't answer at first. Let it ring once, twice, then picked up. His voice was smooth, practiced, like he was reading off a card. We wanted to protect you, Lauren. There's a lot you don't understand. I didn't say anything. You were safe. We made sure of that. I took a breath, slow and even. You were never my father, I said, and I was never your secret. He went quiet, then hung up. I stood still for a full minute before moving. Then I packed. I left a note at the hostel. If I disappear, look into Lowell Kemper. Ridgewell. Sabrina knows everything. I took the real USB, the only uncorrupted one, and walked straight to Lincoln State Bank. It took 20 minutes to get a safety deposit box. I left it there, along with my second notebook, in case I never came back. Then I bought a one-way bus ticket. The woman I used to call Mom tried to stop them. Inez tried to expose them. Now it was my turn. The air behind Ridgewell smelled like mildew and forgotten things. Paint peeled from the old emergency door where Glenda told me to meet her. It was almost midnight when her silhouette appeared under the flickering light. She was shorter than I imagined, with deep lines around her mouth like she'd been holding back truth for decades. You came alone? She asked, voice low. I nodded. No phone, no trail. She didn't smile, just gave a tight nod and led me down a side hallway that hadn't seen real use in years. The floors creaked beneath us. The whole place felt like it was holding its breath. I've kept this hidden for years, she said, stopping in front of an old records room. She used a key so worn it looked like it came from another era. Inside, rows of metal drawers towered over us. She found one labeled M. Geen. She hesitated, then opened it. Red stamp shouted across the top pages. Unfit. Delusional. Security risk. But deeper in the file, scribbled in a trembling hand, were notes that didn't sound delusional at all. Memory suppression trials initiated without consent. Subjects isolated under false diagnoses. I am not unstable. I am a witness. She never stopped documenting, Glenda said, voice tight. She wrote these right before they sedated her permanently. I felt my jaw tense. And no one listened. They buried her. We moved through another hallway, quieter still, until Glenda stopped outside a locked room. She's in there, she whispered. Be careful. Sometimes she talks, sometimes she doesn't. I knocked gently, then pushed open the door. A woman sat by the window, hair streaked with silver, skin pale under the yellowed light. She didn't turn right away. Marjorie? I said, voice trembling. I'm Lauren. I'm your daughter. Her eyes shifted, slowly, then locked onto mine. They think I forgot, she whispered. I never did. I stepped closer, the air between us thick with something I couldn't name. She looked at me, not through me, and I saw it then. She wasn't broken. She was exhausted. They made me forget, she murmured, but not completely. She spoke of sedatives slipped into her food, sessions where they asked her to doubt her own memory. Fake diagnoses scribbled by men with power and no conscience. They told me I was protecting you by staying quiet, she said. But that wasn't true. They just didn't want me to speak. Glenda waited at the door. Before I left, she pressed something into my hand. A worn USB drive. She hid it in her shoe the night they locked her in. I kept it safe. Later, on the bus back into town, I plugged it into a borrowed library laptop. The audio clicked on, static giving way to a clear voice. If anyone hears this, I was never crazy. I was never sick. I was silenced. Link to next chapter. I walked out of Ridgewell that night with my mother's voice burning in my pocket and fire in my chest. The library lights flickered as the file loaded on screen. I scrolled through the scanned pages of Marjorie's commitment form again, looking for anything I'd missed the first 5 times. And there it was. The last page. Signature line, legal guardian authorization, signed Lowell Kemper. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. He hadn't just stood by. He hadn't just lied. He'd signed her away. Like property. Like a formality. I stepped outside, hands shaking, and called Glenda. My voice cracked. You knew. There was silence on the line. Then a quiet, painful sigh. I suspected. I didn't have the papers. I didn't want to believe it. You should have told me. I was afraid, but not anymore. Her voice changed, steadier, raw. I wasn't the only one who tried to help someone. There was another girl, Inez. I gave her access. I broke rules, and when she vanished, they came for me too. I stopped pacing. What happened? They made me sign an NDA, threatened to revoke my license, said if I kept quiet, I'd be safe. And now? Now I'm ready to burn it all down. So was I. The next morning, I boarded a Greyhound headed west. Destination Wyoming. A borrowed name. A cabin in the pines. Avis Mangum. A journalist who'd gotten too close to the Halverson Foundation a decade ago. Fired, blacklisted, disappeared, by choice. She opened the door before I knocked. You're Lauren, she said. Took you long enough. Inside, we sat at a worn kitchen table surrounded by stacks of old case files. I handed her the USB, Marjorie's file, the audio clip. Avis didn't flinch. I've been waiting for this. You just gave me the kill switch. For hours, we outlined everything. Who had what, where it would go, legal forums, Reddit threads, whistleblower sites, 2 podcasts with large followings, a law firm that specialized in medical abuse. Each would receive a different piece, same day, same hour. When we send this, Avis warned, there's no going back. I'm not going back, I said. I'm going loud. We synced timers, checked protocols, encrypted every file 3 times over. Then I sat there, cursor hovering over the button. For my mother, for Inez, for me. I clicked send. The screen blinked once, then again. File sent. It felt too quiet afterward, like the moment before a tornado touches down. Air too still, too clean. Avis stood behind me, arms crossed, eyes fixed on her phone. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. An hour later it started. Reddit threads exploded. First a trickle of, have you seen this? Then a storm. A whistleblower podcast uploaded an emergency episode. The Ridgewell Files, What They Don't Want You to Hear. Substack newsletters with titles like Experiments in the Name of Care and Patient or Prisoner flooded inboxes. TikTok was next. Short, sharp clips of Marjorie's voice layered with somber music, each one gaining thousands of views by the minute. They drugged us. They studied our breakdowns. We were never patients. We were experiments. People listened. People shared. People cried. And Ridgewell panicked. By noon, Glenda texted, they're shredding files, locking down entire wings. Someone saw Halverson being escorted out. The state attorney general made a public statement, measured, cautious, but clear. We are opening a full investigation into Ridgewell Behavioral Center and its affiliations. Hours later, Halverson Foundation's website went dark. Their donation link? Gone. Their funding sources? Frozen. I sat by the window, watching snow melt off the cabin's roof, phone in hand, breath shallow. The silence wasn't still anymore. It was cracking. Avis turned to me. You did it. I didn't smile. I couldn't. Not yet. That night, a law firm called Avis, the same firm that once ignored Marjorie's letters, now said 6 words I never thought I'd hear. We believe your mother. We're in. I stepped outside for air and played the recording again. Just me, my boots in the slush, and my mother's voice floating into the cold. "If no one ever hears this," she said, "I hope my daughter still knows I fought." I whispered into the wind. She knows. 2 weeks passed. I hadn't returned to Lincoln. Not really. Just a detour for paperwork, legal files, a few closed-door meetings at the temporary office downtown. No press, no public statement. I'd said what I needed through action. Lowell's name hit the federal docket 3 days after the exposé. Fraud, medical conspiracy, illegal commitment. His attorney tried spinning it. Compassionate care gone misunderstood. But the judge wasn't buying it. The court denied bail. I watched the hearing from a borrowed laptop in a quiet cafe near the Oregon coast. I didn't flinch when they said his name. I didn't need revenge. I needed closure. He didn't get to see my face when it ended. That was mine. Sabrina never reached out. Not a call, not a message, not even a rumor she'd left town. Maybe she'd gone to ground. Maybe she just couldn't face what she'd enabled. A journalist asked me if I had anything to say to her. I said, "Some things belong to silence." And I meant it. Not all endings need a confrontation. Marjorie chose a small care home in Ashland. Quiet. Trees everywhere. They let her have her own room, her own paintbrushes, and, most importantly, her own voice. She was lucid more days than not. I visit every week. We don't talk about Ridgewell, we talk about daffodils, old songs she half remembers, how tomatoes should never be refrigerated. One day we started planting together, tiny pots, neat rows. Marjorie said, "You know they need warmth more than water?" I smiled. So did she. Some roots grow stronger after being buried. The podcast with her voice became the spine of a documentary. 3 parts, hundreds of thousands of views. One senator called for new patient protections. A petition hit 50,000 signatures. Reform wasn't fast, but it was starting. I turned down every interview. But I wrote one final letter, handwritten, no signature, sent to the Attorney General's office. It said, "Her name is Marjorie Guine, not case 432B. Don't forget that. I used to believe family was built on love. But now I know it's built on truth. What they did to my mother wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. But the truth, it made her visible again. It made me visible too. If you've ever been silenced, ignored, or told your pain was too much, please hear me. Your voice matters. And speaking it, that's power. We don't heal by hiding. We heal by naming the harm, by refusing to carry shame that was never ours to begin with. So let me ask you, have you ever stayed silent to keep the peace? If this story touched something real in you, drop a 1 in the comments. Or tell me where you're watching from. I read everything. And if this story didn't resonate, that's okay. Let me know why. This space is for all voices. If you want more stories like this, subscribe. There's more coming, and they won't be quiet.
Hi, I'm Angela, a 30-year-old. When I first met my mother-in-law, Mary, she said, "You will never be as important as me to Cole. He will always choose me over you. Don't expect anything else from him." I was extremely embarrassed and hurt by her behavior. She kept insulting me, calling me worthless, and said, "I don't know how my son could choose a girl like you. No one deserves my baby. He's just mine. Cole is the best kid ever and loves his mom. You're just a temporary person in his life." I replied, "I know he is your favorite son, Mary. I also know he loves you a lot because you are his mother. I can't replace you. I'm just trying to be a good partner to him. You don't have to see me as competition. I want us to have a relationship." Mary responded, "You can never be my competition. Besides, you are only here for a while, so don't get carried away. He will dump you sooner or later." Mary's rudeness really shocked me. My boyfriend, Cole, is nothing like her. He is super kind and caring. It was painful to experience this because I would never ask Cole to choose me over his mom. I lost my parents when I was young, so I understand how important parents are. Cole has always been loving towards me, and he holds his mother in high regard. His father, Billy, divorced Mary when they were kids, and Cole has some resentment towards him. He prefers his mom over everyone else, believing she sacrificed a lot to raise him. Cole once told me, "All my ex-girlfriends hated my mom. I have no idea why. She's a little dependent on me because she never married again. She spends a lot of time taking care of us and expects a lot of emotional support from her kids. I said, she sounds like a great person, especially since you speak so highly of her. She also raised such a fine man like you. I already hold her in high regard. Cole replied, see, at least you consider that. I don't know why no one else could tolerate her. We have to be compassionate. I can't just leave her like Dad did. I agreed, Cole. I'm sure they had their reasons, but you're right. You can't just drop your mom for anyone. In the future, I would end up being one of those girls who disliked his mother, making things difficult for him. His siblings, Dean and Tamara, tried to warn me when I met them. They were very warm and understanding, unlike Mary. I was confused about how Cole and his siblings turned out so nice with Mary as their mom. Dean and Tamara explained, Angela, we know you've met our mother. You don't have to pretend to like her. We don't worship her like Cole does. He can be a little too naive when it comes to mom. They clarified, yeah, I mean mom did raise us, but she wasn't exactly a great parent, although Cole might think otherwise. I think Mary didn't like me very much. I tried my best to reassure her, but she seemed firm in her judgment of me. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Dean said. I just hope she didn't say anything overly hurtful. Look, I don't know if Cole told you, but she's always been this way towards his girlfriends. Tamara added, I actually have a lot of stories to tell. Yeah, she had a habit of chasing them away. Mom just can't take it when Cole and me give attention to someone other than her. She thinks that just because she chose not to date, she's entitled to all our time and attention. Angela, we really like you, so take this as a warning. Cole can be very dense when it comes to mom. He takes her side most of the time, and we know it has cost him many relationships. Don't let mom win this time. You were perfect for Cole. I don't know, guys. It feels very weird to compete with his mother. I don't have my parents anymore, so I feel bad for Mary. I don't want to take Cole away from her. Believe me, Angela, he really needs to be away from her. Otherwise, he will never be happy, Dean said. Dean and Tamara gave me some good insight into what my relationship with Cole might become. It was true that Cole spent a lot of time with his mother. He often canceled dates to be with her. Mary also called him over for every minor inconvenience. She never worked and was still getting alimony from Billy. I met Billy a long time after I met Mary and the siblings. Billy seemed to be more like Cole and the siblings, and it was easy to see why he had to divorce Mary. I never had a problem with Cole canceling dates for Mary if there was a genuine emergency. However, his constant catering to her wore me down. Dean and Tamara's words kept ringing in my head, and I knew it was time to sit down and have a conversation with Cole. I said to him, Cole, I like that you take care of your mother so much, but you're starting to neglect me. This month, you have canceled all our dates just to be with her. It's getting annoying. You know mom relies on me a lot. Dean and Tamara don't bother to visit anymore, so I'm the only one who has to help. Cole replied, I can understand if she needs your help or if there's an emergency, but you canceled our dates for no reason. You don't have to run to her when she is slightly bored. Well, she is my mom and doesn't have anyone else. Do you expect me to drop her when I'm with you? I'm not saying that, Cole. I just want you to start thinking about which visits are important and which are not. No matter how much I tried to make him understand, Cole never agreed with my reasoning. However, he did promise to make it up to me. I was pretty miffed but didn't complain because he was trying his best. Slowly, I was starting to realize why none of his exes liked Mary. She was unbearable. Every time I was with Cole, she would try to get his attention. When she realized I was more permanent than she thought, she started to become more demanding. It all came to a head when Cole proposed to me. I obviously said yes because I loved him. He was the man of my dreams and exactly everything I wanted. Both Cole and I were over the moon. We decided to invite his family for dinner to announce our engagement. Cole happily called his family and asked them to come over. Billy was the first one who came. He was super excited for us and gave us his heartiest congratulations. Dean and Tamara also came early and were extremely excited for the wedding. But when Mary walked in and saw the ring on my finger, she just flipped out. Cole, am I seeing things? Did you propose to her? Yes, Mom. I popped the question yesterday. She said yes. I asked everyone to dinner to announce the engagement. You have to be kidding me. What is wrong with you, Cole? You were too young to settle down with whoever you find on the street. You didn't even consult me before asking her. Mom, what are you saying? You always knew I was going to propose to her. But I never gave you permission. How dare you propose without asking me? Why did you spend so much money on the ring? This stupid girl doesn't deserve anything so expensive. Angela, are you happy now that you have taken away my boy? Mary, what are you saying? You should be happy for us. We love each other and you are my family as well now. Mary, calm down. It's natural Cole would settle down with Angela. She is a great girlfriend, and we all knew the engagement was coming. Stop making a scene. This is ridiculous. Cole doesn't need your permission to marry. He's old enough to make his own decisions. Mary just wouldn't listen to anyone. She kept screaming at us and calling us names. Some of the things she said about me were downright nasty, things I can't even repeat here. Cole was pretty stunned throughout the whole debacle and didn't say much. It was just Mary screaming while the rest of us tried to calm her down. After a while of screaming and crying at us, Mary left. The rest of us decided to sit for dinner so that the food wouldn't go to waste. Before everyone left, Tamara pulled me aside and said, Angela, I think it's time you set some boundaries with Mom. She called you horrible things in front of us. Tamara, I think I've had enough. I tried so hard to make her like me, but I won't do that anymore. She has disrespected me a lot today, and I won't put up with this anymore. I hope Cole understands. Hold your ground. If he loves you and wants you, he'll listen. After everyone left, Cole and I cleaned up and then I signaled him to the living room. It was time to put some boundaries between us and Mary. I sat him down and said, Mary was horrible to us today. I think we can agree on that. She overreacted a little. I guess I shouldn't have sprung this on her. If only I had discussed this with her. Cole, you are a grown man and don't have to discuss these things with your mom. Why are you still defending her? Didn't you hear what she said about me? Are you okay with that? Of course not, Angela. I'm not okay with that. But it's just that she has never behaved this way before. Trust me, Cole, she has done this before. Every time you were away, Mary used to berate me and call me names. She is obsessed with you. Can't you see that? What are you saying, Angela? My mom has been talking about you all this while. Why didn't you tell me before? Because you have a habit of defending her every time. Look, I know she is your mom and you want her in your life, but I'm going to have low contact with her. You need to rethink your actions and stop catering to her demands all the time. We discussed the problems with Mary, and Cole agreed to set up boundaries. I was happy that he was finally starting to see through Mary's toxic ways. However, he still held her dear and refused to criticize her for anything. Thankfully, he went over to talk to Mary and told her to stay away from me. Wedding planning was equally exhausting with Mary creating trouble. She even went as far as to change the decorations and try to cancel the venue. My maid of honor had the foresight to install passwords so that only Cole and I could make changes. When we were informed about Mary's meddling, I was furious. However, Cole tried to play it down and promised to handle Mary on his own. Things were pretty tense between us as well. Mary absolutely lost it when she found out we bought a house together. Cole and I found our dream house, and Billy offered to help with the down payment. We bought it immediately and put both our names on it. Mary didn't like this at all. She even called Cole and berated him for ignoring her wishes and getting a house with me. Mary wanted Cole to live with her once her lease was up and didn't want him to spend money on a house with me. The wedding itself was uneventful since Mary was given a stern talking to by Cole. My bridesmaids and maid of honor also kept an eye on her so that she couldn't mess things up. However, things went south when we went on our honeymoon. One night, we got a call from Mary. She said, Cole, I have been in an accident. I'm at the hospital. The doctors are saying that I have become paralyzed. I need you right now. What? Where are you, Mom? Tell me the name of the hospital. We will come back immediately. You should have called me sooner. I didn't want to spoil your honeymoon. I knew Angela would not let you come back. Don't worry, I will get discharged tomorrow, but how will I manage on my own? I can't even move. There's no one to take care of me. Don't worry, Mom. You can stay with us. I'll take care of you. I'm sure Angela is okay with this. I'll come to get you when I return. Take care of yourself. Cole quickly called his siblings and Billy as well. However, they were pretty confused by the whole deal. They didn't even know Mary had an accident. Apparently, when they called her up, she forbade them from visiting her in the hospital. Cole was upset and said that Mary was mad at everyone for abandoning her. He also felt bad for neglecting her the previous year, so he decided to end our honeymoon there. There was nothing I could do. When we went back, Mary was already at her house. She was in a wheelchair and started to cry when she saw Cole and me. Cole assured her that he would never abandon her again. This time, he never even asked me anything. Mary also kept giving me weird looks and making snide comments about how I couldn't keep Cole away from her. I stayed quiet because there was no point in attacking her when she was hurt. One thing was definitely bothering me. Mary never showed us any medical documents or doctor's notes. She even refused to say which hospital she had been to. Cole ignored those red flags and simply told me to leave her alone. When we took her to our house, Mary said, "Son, you seriously can't think about putting me in a guest room. It would be so uncomfortable. It would be better if I get the master bedroom. Your room is so much bigger and has all my needs. I'm so sick right now. I need comfort." "Of course, Mom. If you think the master bedroom will be better, you can stay there. We won't mind. I just want you to be comfortable right now." "Thank you so much, Cole. I hope Angela is not mad at me. You guys didn't even get to enjoy your new room first. I can stay in the guest room if she wants. Who cares if I'm uncomfortable?" "You can stay in the master bedroom, Mary. I never objected to it." Mary just looked at me and smirked. She was clearly enjoying the fact that Cole was paying attention to her. Cole never discussed anything with me before giving in to his mother's demands. He kept blaming himself for not being there for her. Dean and Tamara were also very weirded out by the situation. Everything seemed too suspicious for us. I left it alone because I didn't want Cole to get the wrong idea. Things went pretty much downhill after that. Mary monopolized Cole's time. After coming home from work, she called him to her room and kept him there till dinner. Even at dinner, Mary insisted Cole eat with her. I was left to eat alone in the kitchen. It was like Cole never had time for me. Mary also ordered me around when I was home. If I told her no, she would call Cole and cry to him. Cole and I often argued because he wanted me to do more, but I was starting to hit rock bottom with him. My suspicions about Mary's health never went away, so I decided to keep an eye on her. One thing that Mary never knew was that we had cameras in the master bedroom. It was in place so we could keep track of things if they went missing. Neither I nor Cole told her about it. One day, when I was in the office, I decided to look at the recorded videos. Lo and behold, it was Mary walking perfectly fine and looking through all the drawers and cabinets in our room. I was shocked. Sure, I had my suspicions, but I didn't know Mary would do something like this. After finding the truth, I decided to wait before confronting her. Cole and I were still arguing, and I didn't want to piss him off anymore, so I bided my time and waited for the right moment. The perfect time was just about to come. About 4 months after Mary moved in, she told us that we needed to talk. We went to her room and waited for her to begin. She said, "You guys know that I've been going to the doctor with my friend. Today the doctor said that he can fix me, however, it would take a lot of money to do it." "That's great news, Mom. I'm sure this treatment will help you get better." "Yes, but you know I don't have that much money, so I was wondering if you can help me out." "We will be happy to help, Mary, but we don't have that much money lying around." "Don't be selfish, Angela. You have this house. If you sell it now, the money will be enough for the treatment. You can just move in with me and stay there after that." "Mom, it's a big decision to make. We want you to get better, but I can't believe this. My own son doesn't want to help me." "Okay, then go ahead and kick me out. I would rather die in the street than stay here any longer." "Mom, don't say that. We'll figure something out. Just give me time." "No. Just sell this damn house. You don't need such a big house anyway. Angela doesn't get to live in a big house while I rot away in a small one. Sell the house and give me the money." "Mom, calm down. We will find a way. Just let me think about it." Mary just kept accusing Cole of not loving her. She was so intense that Cole was on the verge of tears. He was almost ready to sell the house for her. That's when I decided it was enough. "Stop it, Mary. Why are you pressuring him like this? I know you're not sick at all. Your paralysis is a lie. Stop this nonsense now. We are not selling the house for you." "Oh my, Angela, what is wrong with you? Why would you say something like that?" "Because it's true. Cole, I know you think I am insane, but Mary has been lying to us. Do you remember the cameras we had in the master bedroom?" "Yes, what about them?" "I checked them a few days back. Mary's just fine. She's acting like she's paralyzed. Here's a compiled video of her moving around just fine." I gave Cole my phone to see the evidence. Mary went white as a ghost. She was trying to prevent Cole from seeing the video. She knew I had caught her in the act. After watching the videos carefully, Cole said, "What the hell is this, Mom? You were acting all this time. Why would you do that?" "It's not my fault, Cole. You have been drifting away from me. There was nothing else I could do. Angela doesn't deserve all the money and attention you give her. I should be a priority, not her. Of course, Angela is my priority. She's my freaking wife. I would always be there for you when you need me, but you were getting overwhelming for us. How can you say that? I am your mother. You have to sell this house and move in with me. I had to act like a worthless, disabled person to gain your attention. I deserve something for going through this nonsense. You are not entitled to this house, Mary. You should be grateful we haven't kicked you out instantly. Mom, you need to leave. I don't want to see your face right now. I need to be away from you. Mary kept crying and screaming that Cole was abandoning her again. However, this time Cole wasn't giving in to her. Next, she started to attack me verbally. The insults she threw at me were vile. She even brought up my dead parents to insult me. Cole had enough and threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. She went back to her house but kept calling repeatedly. Cole and I had some serious talks, and he apologized for being so naive about his mom. We discussed her awful behavior and decided that it was time for no contact. Even his siblings and Billy were horrified by what happened. They were also contemplating going no contact with her. Mary kept pestering us with calls for months. However, for now, she has gotten the hint and is staying away. We might consider establishing a relationship if she gets therapy and tries to be better, but for now, she is staying far away from us. Hello, lovely people. My name is Esther. Yes, it's a fake name because I don't want to be recognized. Even though I'd love for my dad and stepmother to be publicly shamed, I don't want the drama for myself. So, I'll be using fake names. My story is about how I got my revenge against my father and his new wife. My mom, Meg, was a very kind and loving woman. She was one of those people who could easily make you fall in love with her. She was not only generous and loving but also very caring. I'm not saying this just because she was my mom. The entire community loved her just as much. I thought that my father, Richard, loved her a lot too, but I was wrong. When I was around 16, my dad left my mom and married his mistress, Jennifer. My mom was actually getting cancer treatments, and my dad decided it would be a good idea to cheat on her with her best friend. Apparently, it had been going on for a year since my mom's diagnosis. One day, my dad sat me down and told me everything. He said, "I'm sure you've heard that your mom and I are splitting. You have to understand, Esther, I cannot be with someone who is sick. I needed a wife who would take care of me. Jennifer makes me feel loved." I was shocked and angry. I said, "You have some nerve to try and make me accept your mistress. I'll never forgive you for what you've done. I don't want Jennifer anywhere around me again." My dad replied, "That will be a big problem, Esther. I'm going to marry her in 6 months as soon as the divorce is finalized. You need to attend our wedding and support us. People will talk if you don't show up." He showed no remorse. The only reason he wanted me to accept his affair was so that people wouldn't look down on him. I can't begin to tell you how disgusted I was. My mom tried her best not to spoil my relationship with Dad. She explained that she wouldn't be alive for long, so I needed to stick with the only parent I would have in the future. It made me super sad to hear her say those things. It was true that her cancer got worse and she didn't have much time left. I needed my dad back then. I needed his support. Seeing my mom die in pain while my dad was celebrating his new family was horrible. Still, I tried to have a relationship with Dad. The saddest part is that Dad didn't care about me at all. It's like a switch went off and he just stopped thinking about me altogether. He focused all his attention on his new family and stepkids. I was always left as an afterthought. I was even made to sleep on the couch while his new kids had their own rooms. When I complained, Dad and Jennifer jumped on me. They said, "How can you be so selfish, Esther? This is all very new to my stepkids. They need their rooms to adjust. You can sleep on the couch for a few days. This is my house and I will decide who stays where." I replied, "Dad, first of all, this house belongs to Grandpa. He promised me that I would get my room. You promised him that too. That's why he let you stay here." Dad responded, "Look how entitled you are. This house will be Richard's eventually, and then it will be your step-siblings' property. You need to stop complaining and try to be good to them." I said, "Why should I be good to them when all they have done is torment me? Dad, you know that your wife and stepkids hate me. Still, you want me to be the one to adjust. How can you do this? I'm not answerable to you, sir. In a few months, you'll be an adult and have to find your own place anyway. So what's the point of having a room? Stop being difficult and be nice to your new family." I was crushed by what Dad had said. It was clear he would kick me out once I turned 18, while his stepkids, who were well past 20, had their own rooms. The favoritism and double standards were heartbreaking for me. Things got worse when my mom died a few months before I turned 18. I was devastated, but Dad offered no support. It was Grandpa Peter who helped me with everything. He helped me arrange the funeral and started to be my guardian. He always said, "Your dad is an idiot, Esther. He has no idea how much he has wronged your mother. One day, he will realize and face the consequences of his actions." I have given up on him, Grandpa. He's busy with his new family now and plans to kick me out at 18. I don't even know what to think anymore. Don't worry, Esther. As long as I am alive, I won't let you be without a guardian. You can depend on me for anything. So I went to Peter whenever I had a problem. My dad was busy with his new family and didn't have time for me. This new family didn't like Peter because he disapproved of their affair and marriage, so they never bothered with him. They only wanted his assets and were waiting for him to pass away. Naturally, we both felt isolated and depended on each other for support. As soon as I turned 18, my dad made it clear I wasn't his problem anymore. He and Jennifer went through all the details. So who turned 18 today? Esther, from now on, you are on your own. As an adult, you need to manage your expenses. We won't let you live in this house for free. You even need to pay us rent and utilities or get a different place. You're hogging the couch anyway. Wow, you two did have it all planned out. What about your own kids, Jennifer? They are adults but still live with you. Don't compare my kids to yourself. They are different and more important. Now Richard needs to build a relationship with them. She's right, Esther. I need to concentrate on my new kids now. You will always be my daughter, but I have to prove my love to them. And just to be clear, I cannot pay for your college. Don't worry, Dad. I won't ask you for anything. Actually, Mom already had a college fund for me with her inheritance money. I can easily pay for all my semesters. I have myself enrolled in one, so I'll be leaving soon. I'll stay in the dorms. You won't have to worry about me anymore. I genuinely thought they would leave me alone after that. I just wanted to get away from them. But mentioning the inheritance was a huge mistake. Suddenly, Dad and Jennifer were saying how unfair it was for me to have so much money. Dad even tried to make me give them some. I told them they didn't deserve Mom's inheritance and that I needed it to pay for college. I thought that would do the trick. It didn't. One day, when I was visiting Dad for the holidays, I overheard a horrible conversation between him and Jennifer. Richard, the guests have been asking for a new car and some gadgets again. I don't know how to tell them we can't afford it. It's so unfair that Esther gets everything while your kids don't get what they want. If you don't do something about it, they will start to hate you. Don't worry, dear. I'll talk to Esther. I'll make her drop out of college. Then she'll be forced to give up the rest of her inheritance to us. That's a wonderful idea, Richard. Esther doesn't deserve so much money anyway. She needs to share it with her siblings as we do. You should talk to her. Don't worry, I will. Very soon we'll have the rest of her inheritance in our accounts. We can get our kids whatever they want. Hearing this made my heart hurt. I loved my dad despite what he had done, but what little love was left for him was now gone. I couldn't believe he could be so cruel. He wanted to destroy my career to help his new family. It made me sick to my stomach. After a while, I was burning with anger, so I decided to call my grandpa and hatch a plan. I wanted to get back at Dad and Jennifer. They had no idea who they were messing with. About 2 months later, Dad and Jennifer called me home. They sat me down and told me we needed to talk. I knew what he was going to say, but I wanted to hear them out. He said, Esther, there is something we need to talk about. I want you to drop out of college. You've got a lot of inheritance from your mom. It's very unfair that you get to go to college and spend so much money. You need to drop out and give us the money. I replied, Excuse me, why would I do that? And what do you even need the money for? You are not my real dad. Dad persisted. Now, Esther, you have step-siblings and a new family. It was extremely rude of you not to share your inheritance. We want to remedy that. If you drop out of college, you won't need the rest of the inheritance. You can give it to us so we can help your new siblings get the things they want. You need to stop being so selfish and think about them. They could use the money for much better things. Hearing this, I began laughing very loudly in front of him. Then I pulled some of my documents out of my bag and said, I had a feeling that you would ask me something like this with the way you have been replacing me with your new family. Thankfully for me, I was prepared for this day. They asked, So, you have already dropped out of college. Will you give the rest of your inheritance to us? I replied, You must be living on planet delusion, Dad. There is no way I am dropping out of college. You and your new family do not deserve my inheritance. How dare you say that to us? Me and my kids are also your family. We deserve whatever inheritance you get from others. Families share, so you need to give us the money right now. What family, Jennifer? You and your kids have never made me feel like family. My mom was betrayed by the two of you. You and Dad mean nothing to me, and neither do your kids. So, I will not be dropping out and giving you any money. You cannot insult us in our own home, mister. You need to apologize to us right now. I'm very close to kicking you out of the house. Don't test my patience. I'm glad you brought up the topic of kicking out people from the house. Well, I guess I have some surprises for you too. Here, why don't you read this? I gave them the papers and let them read what was written on it. Their faces went paler with every word they read. By the time they had stopped reading, both Dad and Jennifer were in disbelief. Dad started to shake from what he had read in the documents. Where did you get these documents? This can't be true. This is impossible. Yes, this is true, Dad. Grandpa has signed over the ownership of the house to me. He had this plan all along. When I told him about the way you and your new family are treating me, he put my name on the house. No, 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 that's impossible. This house belongs to us, not you. Peter cannot give the house to you. Dad promised me the house ever since I was young. He cannot give it away to you. It should belong to me. I'll make him give the house to me. Yes, abandon his other grandkids. Peter can't abandon his son, his wife. Talking to Grandpa won't be of any help. The house has already been transferred to my name. It's not his property anymore. It's now mine, and you should not waste your time on Grandpa. You have worse things to worry about, Dad and Jennifer. What the hell do you mean, Esther? I don't like the way you're speaking to me. Well, in that case, I won't speak to you at all, Dad. Here, you can now take these documents and make sense of them yourself. Enjoy your lovely karma, guys. Bye. As I was leaving, I could see that my dad and Jennifer were reading the second document with great curiosity. This time, they looked absolutely shell-shocked and started to shout my name. By that time, I was already making my way out. I ran to my car, got in, and drove away before they could get hold of me. You must be wondering what was in the second document. Well, it was an eviction notice. I legally gave them a month to leave the house that now belongs to me. It was just the start of my revenge. I drove straight to my grandpa's house after serving Dad the eviction notice. I knew that Grandpa would be waiting for me. After I reached him, we would start our second step of the plan. When I got to Grandpa's house, I gave him the green signal. The eviction papers have been served, Grandpa. They know that the house belongs to me now. You can go ahead and do what you want. Good job, Esther. Now I'm going to call my friend, who is Richard's boss. I requested my friend to give my son the job because he was in financial debt. I thought he needed the money to pay child support and take care of you. And though he had no intention of taking care of you. So, it's time to take the job back from him. Do you really want to do this, Grandpa? They might show up at your place and make a scene or beg for money. They can beg as much as they want, Esther. They won't get a penny out of me. That's a promise. I won't let them go for neglecting you. It's my responsibility to protect my granddaughter now. Grandpa became the best person in my life during that time. His love for me knew no bounds, and it truly showed me what a real family does. True to his words, Grandpa called his friend to get Dad fired. He also called his lawyer to talk about inheriting Dad. Around an hour or two after everything went down, Grandpa started receiving angry calls and texts from both Dad and Jennifer. At first, Grandpa ignored them. But then he decided to give Dad a piece of his mind. He picked up the call and said, What the hell do you want, Richard? I think I have made it clear through my actions that I'll be of no help to you. Dad, you can't do this to me. You can't do this to your own son. What kind of a father are you? How can you destroy your own son's life? You keep forgetting something, Richard. I am being the same kind of father that you were to Esther. I'm not doing something out of the ordinary, Richard. I'm mirroring your actions. You tried to make Esther give up her inheritance and her studies. When she refused, you threatened to kick her out. I know everything, Richard. Don't teach me how to be a father. What I do with my daughter is none of your business. She has become a spoiled brat because of you. She doesn't respect me or my wife. She doesn't want to share her inheritance. Yes, she doesn't want to share the inheritance her mom left for her. She doesn't want to give money to the people who betrayed her and her mother. She has done nothing wrong. I helped you a lot in life because I wanted you to learn to be a good dad. You haven't done anything but make a fool out of me. I'm done enabling you, Richard. In a few days' time, you will be completely disinherited. Grandpa said that and cut the call on Dad's face. It was glorious for me. Grandpa also looked like he had finally dealt with Dad like he should have done before. He requested me to stay with him for a few days until he sorts things out. He had a feeling that Dad and Jennifer would show up at my dorm and make a scene. He didn't want that to happen. My roommate informed me that my dad and stepmother did try to meet me at the dorm. When they didn't find me there, they came straight to Grandpa's. They demanded to know where I was and accused me of destroying the family. Dad, you can't stop me from parenting my own child. I am her father and her legal guardian. I have the right to see her when I want. I'm a full-grown adult, Dad. You made it very clear that since I turned 18, your responsibilities towards me have ended. Well, guess what? It also means that you no longer have any legal rights to punish me or take me with you. Listen to me, Richard. If you know what's best for you, you will take your wife and leave my house immediately. I have already made your life hell. Don't make me call the police on you too. Trust me, son. I won't hesitate even for a second. That was enough to make Dad leave me and Grandpa alone. Jennifer tried to cause a fuss, but Dad dragged her away. After this incident, there were a few days of radio silence from them. However, when their eviction date came near, the tears and begging restarted on their own. They came back to the house to beg us to let them stay. Apparently, they had no savings and no means to rent a place. Their kids refused to get jobs to help them out and also refused to move out, despite being well over 20. Grandpa and I didn't pay any attention to them. When the eviction period was over, Dad and his new family had to leave my home. Dad showed up at our doorstep with his bags. He said that Jennifer had decided to file for divorce since he couldn't provide for her anymore. Dad broke down in tears and begged us to give him another chance. But it was too late for him. I told him that I wanted nothing to do with him. The last I heard, Dad is currently crashing on a friend's couch and trying to find a new job. His last removal from the job didn't look good on his CV, so people were rejecting his application left and right. At this rate, he'll be forced to take a huge payout and work below his last designation. I have no idea where Jennifer and her kids are, but I know that she has filed for divorce. I guess she is on the lookout for her next victim. Meanwhile, Grandpa and I are still as close as ever and working hard at college. My current dream is to follow in the footsteps of my mom. Please wish me luck. Hi, my name is Valerie and I'm 29 years old. I've wanted to talk about this for a long time, but due to legal issues, I couldn't until now. Now that I can, I want to share my story as a warning to my mother-in-law. I don't want her to come near us again. Adrian and I met because of our mothers. His mother, Felicia, and my mother, Veronica, were old friends. One day, they met for coffee after many years and realized they both had single children. They decided to set us up, and a week later, Adrian and I found ourselves at the same coffee shop. Though it was a bit awkward that our mothers set us up, we quickly warmed up to each other. We found out we had a lot in common, like our love for action movies and pizza. We were so engrossed in our conversation that we didn't notice the time passing. As the sun began to set, we said goodbye but promised to meet again soon. The next week, we met for a newly released action movie and pizza. We continued to go on dates almost every week for the next 2 months. I found myself falling deeply in love with Adrian. He also fell in love with me, which I could tell because his face would light up every time he saw me. He paid close attention to everything I said, and if I mentioned something I wanted, he would often surprise me with it on our next date. I loved his sense of humor, how attentive he was, and how much he cared for me. Because of this, I was the one to make the first move and ask him to be my boyfriend. He enthusiastically said yes. We officially introduced each other as a couple to our parents. Both our mothers were overjoyed and proud that they had brought us together. However, over time, I noticed a change in Felicia's behavior toward me. She became cold and distant, sometimes making snide remarks under her breath. When I asked her why she was behaving that way or why she said something rude, she always told me it was nothing or tried to convince me I was imagining things. This bothered me a lot, and one day, I spoke to Adrian about it. He got angry and promised to make sure his mother treated me properly. I was grateful for that. I knew how much Adrian loved his mother, but the fact that he would stand up for me against her made me incredibly happy. I don't know what Adrian said to his mother, but after that, Felicia treated me like she used to before her behavior changed. I was grateful and enjoyed the stress-free time. Adrian and I dated for 2 years before deciding to get married. Our wedding was a small and intimate ceremony with only our closest friends and family present. Shortly after we got married, tragedy struck. Adrian's mother, Felicia, had her house burned down due to faulty electrical wiring. Thankfully, she was safe. Felicia was alright and unharmed as she had been out when the house caught fire. Since she had no place to stay, we opened our home to her. She lived with us for the next year. During that year, Adrian and I experienced great success in our careers. We were in a good place to start a family and decided to try. Within 2 months, I got pregnant. Adrian and I were overjoyed. We had always talked about being parents, and the fact that our dream was coming true made us feel really good. However, our joy slowly started to fade as Felicia gradually became more controlling. I suffered from a lot of morning sickness and cramping. My legs got swollen, making it hard to do household chores because all my energy was spent at work. Felicia couldn't stand this. She would yell at me to do her work. One day, I came home early from work because I was in too much pain. I lay down on the bed and took a short nap. But I was rudely awakened a little while later by Felicia. She began yelling at me for not having done her laundry. Disoriented from being woken up, I asked Felicia what she was talking about. Valerie, why didn't you do the laundry today? Now I have nothing to wear. Wait, what? Why didn't you do your own laundry? It's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility as the host to take care of that. I'm literally in so much pain right now. Are you trying to start a fight about this? Oh, come on. You're just making a big deal out of it. Pregnancy isn't that bad. You're exaggerating for attention. You have no idea what I'm going through. It's not easy for me to manage work and house chores when I'm feeling so unwell. That's not my problem. I was pregnant once too, and I never experienced all this. Get out. Get out. Get out of the room. Get out of the house. Get out of my life. How dare you talk to me like I'm faking everything? Who are you? Can you feel what I'm feeling? Get out. Felicia looked scared and quickly left the room. I couldn't believe her audacity. How dare she try to tell me my pain wasn't real? What would I gain from faking my pain? At the same time, I was yelling at Felicia. Adrian had come home from work. He worriedly ran upstairs to check on me and saw his mother hurry out of the room in fear. He walked into our room carefully and saw me crying hysterically on the bed. He quickly sat down next to me and hugged me, letting me cry for a while before asking why I was crying. I recounted everything that had happened with Felicia and how she had been constantly yelling at me whenever I didn't do the house chores. Adrian got really angry and stood up to talk to his mother, but I stopped him. He saw my pleading face and calmed down. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I knew how upset you'd get. I didn't want you to end up evicting your mother, causing more tension between you two. I felt sorry for her, so I kept it to myself. Babe, I understand why you did that, but I should have known what was going on. I want you to share everything with me, especially when it's affecting you like this. I'm sorry, darling. I should have told you, but I didn't want to cause more problems. You never have to bear these things alone. We're a team, remember? I promise you I'll talk to my mother calmly about her behavior, and I want you to be there with me for that conversation. Together, we walked into Felicia's room. I was nervous about what Adrian was going to do. I know that he gets very protective of me, and his temper isn't the best. While I was hurt, I hoped he wouldn't do something he regretted. Felicia looked surprised and asked why we were in her room. Why are you both in my room? What's going on? Enough with the act. Valerie told me everything. You've been constantly yelling at her about the household chores. Well, she should be doing them. After all, I'm just a guest here, right? You could have either done them yourself or waited for me to do them. You didn't need to bother Valerie like that. It's a woman's job to handle household chores. You would never catch me asking you for help with these kinds of tasks. I don't care about your beliefs. It's my house, my rules. I'm your mother. You can't tell me what to do. This is my home, and if you can't respect that, then maybe it's time you find another place to live. You can't do that. I have nowhere else to go. The only reason I haven't evicted you already is because Valerie asked me not to, but if you cross the line again, I won't hesitate. I promise I won't do it again. Just please don't kick me out. You need to change, Mom. Treat Valerie with respect like the family she is to us. All right. The rest of my pregnancy went relatively smoothly. My symptoms eased as I progressed further along. Finally, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Adrian and I were overjoyed to welcome our precious daughter into our family. We named her Ava. I stayed in the hospital for 2 more days after giving birth. On the 3rd day, Adrian picked us up from the hospital before he left for work and dropped us home. Felicia warmly greeted the 3 of us. "Oh, look at my precious granddaughter. You've done such a wonderful job, Valerie. She's the most beautiful bundle of joy." "Thank you, Felicia. It means a lot coming from you." "Valerie needs some rest now, Mom. She just gave birth, and Ava kept her up through the night." "Don't worry, I'll take care of the baby. You go and get some rest, Valerie. I don't want to be away from Ava so soon. Trust me, you'll need this rest soon enough. Mom will take good care of her." "You rest, dear. I'll be here to look after Ava." "All right, but just for a couple of hours. Then I'll take over." "That sounds fair. You rest now, and I'll do the same later." "Thank you, Mom." With that, Adrian left for work. I went to sleep, and Felicia looked after Ava. I woke up 2 hours later to Ava crying loudly. I got worried and went to check on what was going on. The sound of Ava crying was coming from Felicia's room. I didn't know what was happening, whether Felicia was purposely ignoring my daughter or if she was somehow sleeping through the loud noise. I knocked on Felicia's door but got no response. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. Panic started to set in. I began banging on the door and yelling for Felicia to open it. After 2 minutes, she finally opened the door just enough for me to see a portion of her face. "Felicia, what are you doing? Let me see Ava." "I'm just trying to teach you a lesson. You can't rely on Adrian for everything. You need to take responsibility for your duties around the house." "This is not the way to teach a lesson. Give me my child right now. Complete your chores, and then you can have Ava back. It's time you learn to handle your responsibilities." "What is wrong with you? Remember, the longer you take to complete the chores, the longer your child goes hungry." Fear replaced the anger in me. I was ready to do anything that Felicia asked as long as Ava was safe. I couldn't understand why she was being so cruel to me right after I had given birth, but I didn't have the luxury of arguing about it. I needed my baby fed and safe. I asked Felicia what needed to be done. Felicia told me there was a pile of dishes to be washed, the house needed to be vacuumed because it had gotten dusty, and the common bathroom had to be scrubbed clean. She also said I had to finish everything before Adrian came back and that I couldn't tell him anything about it. Otherwise, she would make things worse for me. I nodded through my sobs and left to complete the chores. I sobbed because I was still in pain, but I knew I had no choice. I spent the next couple of hours toiling away to make the house clean for Felicia. I had to take a few painkillers to stop me from fainting from pain and exhaustion. I also had to be careful not to strain my stitches and tear them. All in all, I was having a tough time and kept crying as I did the chores. I wanted to tell Adrian because this was beyond cruel, but I was scared about what Felicia might do to Ava. I was glad that Felicia had managed to get Ava to stop crying, but I was still scared about what the future held for us. I just wished there was some way out of this. The universe heard my wish and did more than I had hoped for. That day, Adrian arrived home 2 hours early to surprise Ava and me. When he walked into the house, he couldn't find me anywhere. He saw the light in the common bathroom switched on and walked in to see me on my hands and knees, scrubbing the floor while sobbing. Adrian rushed over to me and asked why I was overexerting myself like this. At the sight of him, I started sobbing harder. Adrian panicked and pulled me into his arms, gently stroking my hair as he waited for me to calm down. When I did, I told him about what Felicia had done. Adrian was seething, and unlike last time, I didn't stop him. Adrian banged on Felicia's door and demanded she open up. Felicia opened the door and looked at him in surprise. "Adrian, how come you came home early? Did you forget something?" "I didn't forget anything. I came home early because I wanted to surprise Ava and see my family, but instead, I found you trying to teach my wife a lesson in the worst possible way." "Oh, come on. I was just trying to help her be a better wife and mother. She needs to learn to handle her responsibilities." "Help? That was no help. It was cruel and heartless. How could you treat her like that? She needs to learn. It's for her own good." "For her own good? Look at our child. You had no right to involve her in your twisted lessons. She's just a baby." "I know what's best for everyone, including you. Valerie needs to change." "No, you need to change. I won't let you hurt my family anymore. We're done. I want you out of our lives. Adrian, you can't be serious. I thought you cared about me. I did care about you once, but not anymore. You've crossed the line, and I won't tolerate it. I will make you pay. Adrian, please. I didn't mean for this to happen. It's too late for apologies. You need to face the consequences of your actions. He silently walked out of her room and handed Ava to me. I cried tears of joy. I knew you had to be some kind of monster to torment an innocent child like that. Anger swirled within me, and I wanted to make Felicia pay. I asked Adrian what he had done to Felicia. I'm going to file a lawsuit against her. She endangered our child and harassed you. I will make sure she pays dearly for it, Adrian declared. But Adrian, fighting a lawsuit, isn't it too much? You and Ava are my world. Nothing is too much if anyone hurts either of you. She had no right to treat you like that. Thank you for standing up for us. I can't believe she would go to such lengths to get her way. I don't know what I would have done without you here. It was terrifying. From now on, you and Ava will be safe. I won't allow anyone to harm you ever again. True to his word, Adrian filed the lawsuit. A couple of days later, Felicia was served with court summons. Felicia was shocked and asked Adrian what the summons was for. You endangered my child and harassed my wife after she gave birth. I had to file this lawsuit to hold you accountable for your actions, Adrian said firmly. Adrian, please. I didn't mean to cause harm. I was just trying to help. Your idea of help is twisted. You crossed the line, and now you have to face the consequences. We're family. You can't do this to me. Family doesn't give people the right to hurt others. You hurt Valerie and traumatized Ava. I won't stand for it. Please, I'll change. I promise I won't interfere anymore. It's too late for promises. You have no evidence against me. How will you prove it? I installed baby cameras everywhere the night before Valerie got home from the hospital. I've got more than enough evidence of you hurting my family. Adrian, I beg you don't do this. I'll do anything to make it right. You had your chance to be better. Now you must face the truth. You broke my trust, and I won't let you hurt my family any longer. In the months that followed, things moved quickly in court. Felicia was charged with a misdemeanor and sentenced to 6 months in jail plus an $800 fine. When the judge announced the sentence, Felicia broke down and started wailing in the courtroom. Adrian didn't seem to care about her tears and instead looked satisfied that she got what she deserved. As I watched Felicia get escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs, I couldn't help but feel relieved. I knew that for at least the next 6 months, my family and I would be free of Felicia's toxic behavior. Meanwhile, Adrian and I focused on raising our newborn daughter Ava and didn't let Felicia's actions define us. We found strength in each other and the support of our friends and loved ones. While Felicia was in jail, she had time to think about what she had done. At the same time, Adrian and I worked on healing from the hurt she caused. I couldn't fully forgive her, but I knew it was important to move forward for our own sake and our families. Felicia finished her jail time and sought counseling to make amends for her actions. I wanted to believe she could change, but I remained cautious and never let her come close to us again. One time she tried, and I threatened to get a restraining order. Our lives gradually got back to normal. The pain Felicia caused was still there, but we focused on building a better future for our family and cherishing the happiness Ava brought into our lives. The day my father passed away, my mother told me, Emily and I will take over all the remaining assets. To be honest, I didn't want to discuss the inheritance on the day of my father's funeral. However, Emily eagerly pushed the conversation forward, her eyes sparkling. There's a will, too. Look, Emily said proudly, showing it to me. Just after Dad went to the hospital, Mom and I visited him and had him write this. Dad immediately agreed to leave nothing to you, sis. Dad did that, even though he always relied on me. Yes, he did, Emily replied. I know it's harsh, but Dad always found me more likable and favored me. Before I could respond, my mother continued with a smile. Since you don't have a job, we have no intention of giving you a single penny from the inheritance. We'll be enjoying a trip abroad, so prepare to leave this house by the time we return. Wait, how can I accept this? Why would you do this? Before I could say anything else, my mother and Emily retorted coldly, Be quiet. It's impossible for you to get anything from us now. With Dad gone, we can finally act freely. Your role here is done, so leave immediately. All the sacrifices I made for Dad, everything I did for him, and this is the result. How cruel. Giving everything for such an ungrateful father felt pointless. Even if I wished for their help now, it was too late. Hearing their words, any remaining feelings I had for my mother and Emily disappeared entirely. Without expressing all I wanted to say, I responded, I understand. I can't stay with you two any longer. I'll gladly leave. With that, I left my childhood home. My name is Ashley. I have a sister, Emily, who is 4 years younger than me. We're a family of 4. Emily's personality is similar to our mother's. She's charming but sometimes lazy, and she often teases my father and me, who are more sincere. Our mother, having a temperament like Emily, felt especially fond of her. When we were children, it was evident she favored Emily over me. Whenever she met her friends, my mother would only take Emily, often leaving me at home. She said it was embarrassing to show plain and quiet Ashley to her friends. On the other hand, she was very proud of Emily, who was friendly and loved by everyone. Even with such a mother and sister, I could live positively because of my father. He valued my sincerity and loved both Emily and me equally. I deeply appreciated and loved my father's fair attitude. Even after becoming an adult, my mother's treatment of me remained unchanged. However, thanks to my father's presence, our household remained stable. After my father retired at 65, he had an accident at home. He tripped over a small step and broke a bone. Despite surgery and rehabilitation, his aging muscles didn't recover well. As he spent more time bedridden and needed care, my mother and Emily became even colder towards him. One day, I overheard my mother and Emily chatting excitedly while looking at a guidebook. Hey Mom, what do you think about this inn? The food looks delicious too. Maybe we should go with this one. Curious, I asked, what are you talking about? My mother answered with a hint of annoyance, we're planning a family trip. Considering Dad's difficulty moving around, isn't traveling hard for him? I asked. Emily smiled and said, well, we're not thinking of bringing him. We plan to leave him at home. That's cruel. It would be hard for him if he's left alone. If Dad's not going, I'll stay home with him, I said. My mother and Emily just smiled at each other. My mother then said, that's fine. If that's the case, Emily and I will go by ourselves. Whether you two come or not is up to you, but since it's a family trip, we'll be using money from Dad's bank account. A quick glance at the guidebook revealed they had chosen a room for just 2 people. It was clear they never intended to bring either my father or me. After that, my mother and Emily frequently went out alone, staying at high-quality inns and dining at fancy restaurants, as if neither my father nor I existed. I kept an eye on their actions from a distance, trying to finish my work quickly to take care of my father. When I couldn't handle everything alone, I sought help from care services for tasks like bathing assistance or accompanying my father on short walks. On days when I had to work overtime, I asked my mother and Emily to look after him, but they always avoided the responsibility. One day, a care service staff member called, Ashley, I came to help with the bath, but is there no one at home today? Alarmed, I quickly called my mother and Emily. Despite informing them of the staff's visit in advance, they had left my father alone and gone out. When they finally returned, I confronted them, but there was no apology. The staff are professionals, right? It's okay even if we aren't there. Dad is an adult. He'll be fine being left alone. We don't want our time taken up caring for him like you do, they said, genuinely believing they were doing nothing wrong. I realized I couldn't rely on them and decided to take care of my father myself. Juggling work and caregiving was far from easy, especially since neither my mother nor Emily showed any concern or understanding. My father's condition worsened. He spent more time sitting than walking and ate much less. As the 9th year of caring for my father approached, I became concerned about how frail he looked. When I took him to the hospital, we received a shocking diagnosis. Your father has advanced cancer. I was devastated. I realized we might not have much time left, and I was determined to support him in his final days. I quit my job to care for my father full-time. When I told my mother and Emily about his condition, the reactions were unexpected. My mother simply commented, really? He never drank or smoked. It's unfortunate that such a sincere person ended up with cancer. Emily, with a stunned expression, said, I can't believe you'd give up your job to take care of Dad. I'd never make that choice. I thought they would be concerned about him, but they showed no signs of it at all. I was honestly surprised by their indifference, as if it was someone else's business. They only visited him at the hospital briefly and never came for a proper visit. I supported my father daily during his chemotherapy treatments. Despite our best efforts, we couldn't stop the cancer's progression, and half a year later, he passed away. The days after the diagnosis went by in a blur. Upon hearing of his death, my mother and Emily started a private discussion and left me to arrange the funeral on my own. They disappeared somewhere, and I didn't even have time to mourn my father as I had to handle everything. As the funeral began, my mother appeared and delivered the chief mourner's speech despite having done nothing. She put on a face for the public. I was irritated by her behavior, but the funeral proceeded smoothly. Worn out, I headed home, only to be invited to the living room by my mother and Emily, who had already returned. They said they had something to discuss. Without any consideration for my exhaustion, my mother abruptly declared, "Regarding your father's inheritance, Emily, and I will inherit this house and all other assets." I wasn't in the mood to discuss inheritance on the day my father passed away, but Emily chimed in. "We even have a proper will. Look," she said, proudly presenting a document. Right after Dad was admitted to the hospital, Mom and I visited him and had him sign this. It states that you won't inherit anything. Dad agreed to it immediately. "Dad did?" I asked, stunned. With a smirk, Emily said, "After all the help you provided, it's so cold, right? Maybe Dad in the end preferred me over his too serious elder daughter." "That's impossible," I began to respond, but my mother interrupted with a grin. "Clearly Emily is more adorable. Your father always stayed home and had no hobbies, so he surely saved a lot. Mom even quit her job because of the inheritance, and I took some time off work to enjoy it." Before I could say anything, they continued their conversation. My mother then told me, "You, who have no job, won't get a penny from the inheritance. We plan to enjoy a vacation abroad for a while, so you should leave this place by then." I hurriedly countered, "Wait a minute. Do you genuinely believe what you're doing is right?" Without waiting for me to finish, both my mother and Emily firmly responded, "Shut your mouth. It's a waste of time trying to take the inheritance from us. With your father gone, we'll do as we please. Your role here is done. Please leave this house promptly." To think that after all I sacrificed for Dad, this is what I get. There was no need to go to such lengths for such an ungrateful father. It's pointless to regret and think about it now. Hearing those words, any remaining bond I felt for my mother and Emily was completely severed. I couldn't forgive them for speaking that way about my beloved father. Holding back what I wanted to say, I calmly told them, "I understand your thoughts. From now on, I can't imagine living together with you two. I'll gladly leave." Despite their initial surprise at my acceptance, the two soon smiled smugly together. Good to know. Once you leave this house, never rely on us again. Our relationship ends here. Whatever happens to you, we want no part in it. Don't even think of contacting us, my mother said. Receiving this intense sentiment, I packed only my essentials and left the house. A few days after the inheritance discussion, something unexpected happened. I received a call from my mother, who had claimed she would cut off contact with me. When I answered, she immediately confronted me in anger. "What have you done? Where has all the money from your father's account gone? Why are you suddenly calling? Didn't you say you wouldn't contact me?" I replied, "Silence. This is an emergency. Return your father's savings immediately." "What are you talking about? I left the passbook at the old house, didn't I? I have no way of accessing it after I left. The money in the account is definitely gone. Such a significant amount of savings couldn't have disappeared so suddenly," my mother accused. She suspected that I had squandered my father's money. "Mom, haven't you ever checked the account balance before?" "Ha! I haven't bothered with such things," she replied. "I see. If you had, you would have noticed that Dad's savings weren't that much to begin with." "What do you mean?" "His savings were, oh, where did his retirement money go?" "We used it for our wedding ceremony and the new house," I explained. "Wedding? New house? I have no idea what you're talking about." I had been in a romantic relationship with a man named Sean, who was in charge of the caregiving service for my father. Our relationship started through our mutual care for my father. I had told my father about Sean soon after we began dating, and Sean proposed. At that time, I was overwhelmed with caregiving and work responsibilities and couldn't make a decision. Upon learning the truth, my father said, "Care for yourself more than me. I want you to have a happy marriage," and he supported me. He even started helping with the wedding venue selection and looking for a new place to live. We had reserved a wedding date for the following year and signed a contract for a new apartment that my father liked. This all happened 6 months before we found out that he had terminal cancer. As a gesture of gratitude, my father covered most of the costs for the wedding and the new apartment. That was the reason for the decrease in the account balance. Hearing this, my mother's voice trembled, clearly shaken. So there wasn't any inheritance for us to inherit in the first place. Primarily just the family home, but given its location, we shouldn't expect a high selling price. Emily, overhearing the conversation, snatched the phone from my mother in panic. Wait, so the financial assistance for your wedding is much more than the inheritance for Mom and me? That seems to be the case. Dad knew about my marriage and me leaving the house, so maybe he didn't see a problem in leaving the family home to both of you. He might have used a significant amount for me and intended the inheritance to compensate for that. Could it be that the reason you quit your job was because your marriage had been decided upon? That's right, Sean is also involved in investment activities and is financially stable. He wanted me to become a full-time housewife. Also, I thought if I resigned early, I could focus on taking care of our father. I can't believe it. Why did you keep the news about your marriage and the savings a secret from us? Taking a deep breath, I answered, I thought about telling you several times, but every time, neither of you showed any interest and avoided the topic. Why didn't you stop me from taking a break from work or Mom from quitting her part-time job? How are we supposed to live now? When I wanted to talk to you after the funeral, wasn't it you and Mom who shut me down, saying you can't expect anything from us? I thought family members should help each other out. When I was swamped with work and caregiving, you were out having fun, neglecting Dad. How can I think of someone who said such mean things as family? Don't just say whatever is convenient for you, I told them, shocked and lost for words. Emily was taken aback. Afterward, my mother pleaded with me, Ashley, the truth is, I've already paid for the trip. I also made various purchases expecting the inheritance. So now I have no savings left. So what about it? I've already quit my part-time job, right? If we don't get any inheritance money, we won't have any money for next month. So until I find a new job, I hope you can lend us some. When you kicked me out of the family home, didn't you say you'd never come to me again? That our relationship was over? That you wouldn't interfere with whatever happens to me in the future? About that, neither of you ever helped when Dad and I were going through tough times. Now, when you're in trouble, you want to rely on me. That's incredibly brazen, I said. Without waiting for my mother to finish, I ended the call and blocked their numbers. I was utterly disgusted by my mother and sister, who only claim to be family when they're in trouble. I decided to distance myself from these two. Later on, I heard from various people that although my mother and Emily had canceled their trip, they couldn't get a refund. They'd been barely scraping by, asking friends and relatives for money. They had to sell their house, but as I expected, they didn't get as much as they hoped. With the initial expenses for a new place and moving costs, they had hardly any money left. Emily returned to work, but because she asked her colleagues for money, her relationships at work became strained. She had planned to leave her job soon after finding a good partner, but because of the situation, that partner, as well as other men, distanced themselves. Her friends, too. My mother tried to find another part-time job, but her previous workplace had already hired someone else. So it was hard for her to return. Due to her age, her job opportunities were limited. She's been working diligently, facing complaints from younger colleagues. Currently, they manage their living expenses with my mother's meager part-time salary and Emily's earnings, slowly repaying their debts. Both of them seem worn out. As for me, I was able to have a small wedding at the venue my father chose. The only regret is that my father couldn't be there for my wedding. But I believe he's watching over our happy moments from somewhere. My married life with Sean has been smoother than expected. We're enjoying peaceful and fulfilling days together. I'm eternally grateful to my father for supporting my relationship with Sean and giving me this opportunity. I've had to build a peaceful life with my husband, always remembering my gratitude to my father.
My family was dining in a fancy restaurant when Eric, my husband, took over the reservation I had made for Dad's birthday celebration. He brought his in-laws along and said, "A single father like yours doesn't belong in fancy restaurants. Stick to cheap pubs." Despite my frustration, I decided to set Eric straight. "You realize this is my brother's place, right?" I said. I'm Elizabeth, a 27-year-old office worker. My parents divorced when I was little, and Dad raised me. They split because Dad was always working and rarely home, which wore Mom down. Although Dad still loved Mom and didn't want the divorce, he eventually agreed when she said, "I'm tired of waiting. Set me free." After they divorced, I stayed with Dad because of financial reasons. He would always say, "It's not Mom's fault. It's my fault for relying on her too much and neglecting her. I regret making her feel lonely." When I asked why Mom left, he would sigh sadly. Despite the divorce, Dad always put me first. He made it to my school events and never missed a birthday or Christmas. Some people made insensitive remarks about our single-parent household, but Dad's love made me ignore them. After the divorce, I occasionally saw Mom, but our relationship grew distant after she remarried and had another child. Once I started working, Dad retired early to enjoy a quieter life. He had worked hard to support me, and I wanted him to pursue his interests now. Although I live alone, I frequently visit Dad. 2 years ago, I married Eric, who was introduced to me by a friend. Eric is hardworking and honest, and he quickly earned Dad's approval. His in-laws were also kind and accepted me immediately. However, the suggestion to move into Eric's family home brought me considerable distress. Both my parents are getting older, and I worry about them. They are both retired and hardly go out or talk to anyone these days. Moving in together seems like a good opportunity. Please consider it, Eric pleaded earnestly. Of course, I wanted to respond to his desperate request, but moving into his parents' house would put a significant distance between me and my dad, making it hard to check on him as often as I used to. Dad is healthy, but if something happened, he might not be found in time. I was torn about what to do, but eventually Dad gave me his advice. "I'm healthy enough to live on my own. I don't want to burden you, and you should take care of Eric's family. Call me if anything happens," emphasized to Dad, and reluctantly agreed to move in. However, just a few weeks after moving in, I began to regret my decision. Eric and his parents, whom I thought were kind, drastically changed their behavior towards me. They started treating me like a servant, leaving all the household chores, cooking, laundry, and cleaning, solely to me while Eric and his parents did nothing. I asked Eric to help. "I'm tired from work too. Housework is a wife's job, right?" he retorted. My protest that I also work fell on deaf ears. "It's different. You married me, so you should be devoted to me and my parents," Eric would dismissively say. Coming home tired from work only to face an endless list of chores was overwhelming. Not just the chores, but Eric's mother, Mary, relentlessly tormented me. She'd purposefully spill food to dirty the floor or complain about the slightest speck of dust. "This spot is dirty. Clean it," she would order, leaving dirty clothes all over for me to pick up. After I washed and carefully folded them, she'd say, "These folds will crease the clothes. Do it again," and kick them apart. Moreover, Mary often made disparaging remarks about me being from a single-father household. "You can't even do housework properly because you weren't raised in a proper family. How pitiful. It's amazing you can hold a job. The company must be blind to hire such a bottom-rung woman. It's your dad's fault for the way he brought you up." I was against marrying someone from such a family, but Eric insisted. "I deeply disapprove. You should be more devoted to us and Eric. If we hadn't welcomed you as a wife, you'd be living a sad, lonely life with your dad." Hearing such insults about Dad, I had to suppress the urge to hit Mary. The worst part was that John, my father-in-law, and Eric did nothing to intervene while they witnessed Mary's treatment of me. Far from supporting me, John looked at me scornfully while Eric joined Mary in mocking me. "Mom's right. You lack any gratitude towards us. That's why she's cold to you," Eric sneered. A woman from a dysfunctional family like yours would have been left on the shelf if I hadn't married you. You barely have any merits besides working and doing housework, so do them well. Don't even think of asking to share the chores. It's your role as a wife, and making excuses like being tired from work is absolutely unacceptable. I won't allow it, Eric dictated. When I tried to argue or refuse, Eric's mood turned visibly sour. He began treating me as if I were invisible. How dare you, as a wife, make a fool of me, he would shout. Mary chimed in. Don't stress Eric when he's tired, making things worse for me. Some of the furniture in the in-laws' house was bought with my money. I was coerced into purchasing them. They abruptly took me to an electronics store and forced me to buy things, capitulating under public pressure to avoid a scene. The harassment didn't end there. Even when I tried to visit my family for Christmas, they obstructed me. You're our wife now. Focus on our preparations. We need a feast and thorough cleaning done. Your dad's all alone. He won't do much, right? We have other relatives to entertain, they said. When I persisted on going home, they responded childishly by spilling juice on my packed clothes and hiding my shoes. Facing daily complaints and harassment, I reluctantly gave up the idea of going back home. Unable to reveal the truth, I told Dad, the in-laws' house is busy with Christmas preparations, so I'll stay and help. Sorry, I can't make it back. Dad didn't blame me. Then it can't be helped. He gracefully accepted. Don't worry about it. It's busier there with more people. I can manage fine alone here. He comforted me. Eric's ongoing tyranny made me seriously contemplate divorce, but I was troubled about how to tell Dad, who was purely happy about my marriage, without hurting him. In the second year of this tumultuous marriage, Dad turned 60. I secretly made reservations at a renowned fancy restaurant for his celebration. Anticipating complaints from Eric and his parents, I simply told them I had to return home briefly. They grumbled but reluctantly accepted when I promised it would just be for the day. Upon learning about the restaurant reservation, Dad was immensely delighted. I'm so blessed to have such a wonderful daughter. Thank you so much, he said. Hearing Dad express gratitude made me incredibly happy, but I never imagined what would unfold next. As we entered the restaurant and informed the staff of our reservation, we were met with a shocking revelation. A reservation for two? There are 3 people claiming to be relatives already seated there. Confused, I went to see the reserved table, only to find Eric and the in-laws seated there. Eric, noticing me, sneered with a smug smile. Too bad you can't outsmart us and dine fancy just by yourselves, he said. The in-laws didn't even look our way, indulging in the feast they had presumably ordered for themselves. Dad, seeing Eric and the in-laws, looked back and forth between us, clearly bewildered. He had only seen the pleasant side of Eric and the in-laws. His confusion was understandable. Eric, suspecting something from my cheerful demeanor about returning home, had sneakily snooped through my mobile phone. He learned about the 60th birthday celebration at the upscale restaurant and made it their first to preemptively order dishes. Eric began to mock us with a triumphant expression. People from poor single-father households like you don't belong in fancy restaurants. Know your place. Let us savor the dishes here. Be grateful we're allowing you this much. You lot should go to some cheap pub, he said loudly, drawing annoyed glances from other customers. He remained oblivious, soaked in a sense of superiority. Dad, next to me, was dumbfounded by Eric's audacity. I was at my wits' end. I knew Eric and his family were selfish, but I never expected them to stoop to such shameless levels. My anger peaked as they ruined Dad's special 60th celebration. Suppressing my urge to shout, I calmly delivered a fact to Eric as he sat there smugly. This is my brother's place. He invited us here to celebrate Dad's birthday. At my words, Eric and the in-laws, who had been disinterestedly eating, froze. My brother, who had been listening to the entire conversation from the back of the restaurant, appeared with an extremely displeased look. He was taken by Mom during the divorce, but unlike our estranged mom, he has maintained and cherished his relationship with Dad and me. My brother owns the restaurant and was the one who suggested celebrating Dad's 60th birthday here. He hadn't attended the wedding due to work, but had seen the photos, so he had recognized Eric. He initially thought Eric and the in-laws joining at the reserved table were part of celebrating with Dad. Seeing Eric mocking me and Dad, and the in-laws not correcting him, my brother was furious. "How dare you speak to my sister and Dad like that? I regret being considerate just because you're Emily's family. Is this how you always treat her?" I prepared the seat for my sister's wish to celebrate Dad, not for people who hijack it just to freeload a meal. "We will celebrate Dad and my sister's occasion on another day. You'll be paying for what you ate," he declared. Eric and his party started making excuses. "No, that's not it. We were really meant to celebrate." But my brother left them to the staff and to me and Dad outside. "I'm sorry for letting such people into the restaurant and ruining the celebration. I'll make it up to you." He apologized to us. On the way home, I explained to Dad all the mistreatment from Eric and the in-laws. After listening silently, Dad said, "If you're unhappy in your marriage, there's no point. Don't worry about me. Come back home." So I didn't return to the in-laws' house, but went straight to my own home. Shortly after, my brother called to inform me about Eric and the in-laws. They had caused a scene over the bill, but reluctantly paid when threatened with police involvement. Minutes later, Eric called. "Where are you? You've embarrassed us. Send the money we paid," he yelled. "I will pay a penny. I'm done with you, and we will be divorcing. I've gathered evidence of the bullying, so be prepared," I firmly replied. I had been collecting evidence of the harassment from Eric and the in-laws, which they never suspected. According to a lawyer I consulted, the forced purchases and other financial exploitations were enough to prove psychological abuse. Realizing I was serious about divorce, Eric panicked. No one but me would marry a woman from a single-father household. "Do you want to upset Dad?" he threatened. I scoffed. "Dad said my happiness matters most. I'd rather be with him than care for the likes of you," I replied. Still, Eric warned, "You'll regret this. Think it over." But I hung up and proceeded with the divorce preparations. Eventually, Eric and I divorced. He was reluctant due to societal image, but finally gave in as we neared court. I secured substantial evidence of psychological abuse, which ensured I received a fair settlement in the divorce. Additionally, during the property distribution, I made sure to protect my assets and secure my future. I took the furniture I had purchased for the in-laws' house, having the legal right as the buyer. The in-laws tried to complain, but my lawyer simply stated that the purchaser naturally has the right of possession, leaving them defeated. A few months after returning to my parents' home, Eric reached out, wanting to reconcile. Apparently, on the day that triggered our divorce at the restaurant, Eric's boss and colleagues were there for a work celebration. They heard everything he said to me and Dad. Eric's boss, who had struggled growing up in a single-parent home, was disappointed in Eric's disparaging remarks about single-father households. Eric, who was a promising employee, lost his standing and any chance of advancement. Moreover, his colleagues had spread the story, and he was now regarded with contempt at work as a psychological abuser. Eric's problems didn't stop at the company. The in-laws' house became chaotic too. Before our divorce, Eric and the in-laws had offloaded all household chores on me. After the divorce, entrenched in laziness, they bickered over who should do the chores. Eric was being pressured by the in-laws to buy new furniture to replace what I took and to contribute more financially. "I was wrong, Elizabeth. I took advantage of your kindness too much. I've truly reflected and want to start over." Eric pleaded for reconciliation. But my feelings had cooled significantly. He likely faced more pressure to do chores at the in-laws' house and wanted me back to resume my role as a housekeeper. Perhaps he was also trying to offload some of the financial demands from the in-laws onto me. So I firmly rejected his proposal. No way. I wouldn't get back with you even if you paid me. I can see you changing back and exploiting me again once we're married. I was foolish not to divorce you sooner without worrying about Dad. Then perhaps Dad's 60th wouldn't have been ruined. We're divorced now, strangers. If you contact me again, I'll consult my lawyer, I said and hung up the phone. Perhaps my mention of a lawyer resonated because I received no further reconciliation attempts from Eric. Now, I'm living happily at home with Dad, and my brother occasionally visits, bringing gifts. His wife is pregnant, and he seems truly happy. Dad and I are both looking forward to the baby. While I'm not considering marriage anytime soon, if the opportunity arises, I'll be sure to choose more wisely.
I apologize for an unattractive wife. During our wedding ceremony, my mother-in-law suddenly grabbed the microphone from my father-in-law, who was giving the speech. She blurted out harsh words. I'll discipline her properly from now on to at least make her a better wife on the inside, looking satisfied, which was a stark contrast to the shocked silence that filled the room. I was stunned and turned to look at my husband only to find him smirking disturbingly. My mind went blank and my body trembled from the surprise and shock. An older gentleman purposefully made a loud noise as he stood up from his seat. Is that all you wanted to say? He asked, drawing everyone's attention. He then walked toward me confidently. My husband's eyes widened in surprise when he saw him. Ignoring my husband's reaction, the man took my arm and said, "Let's get out of here." Before I could say anything, he led me out of the reception hall, dragging along the wedding dress I never wanted in the first place. As we walked through the hotel corridor, a flood of thoughts filled my mind. My name is Angela, a 35-year-old woman who grew up in a single-parent household after my parents divorced when I was in elementary school. In my 20s, my mother fell ill and needed care, so I balanced work and taking care of her. I was still single in my 30s when I met a man named Steven. He proposed to me despite knowing about my responsibilities toward my mother, after meeting me at work where I assisted him at the reception desk. Steve was a great guy, and I thought I might never get another chance to marry if I didn't take this opportunity. But I couldn't just leave my mother alone. After a year of dating, I struggled with my decision. However, Steve reassured me, saying, "I know how much you care about your mother, so why don't we become a family of 3? Touched by his proposal, I decided to marry him. When we announced our marriage to our parents, my mother was overjoyed, but my soon-to-be mother-in-law, Ruth, had a completely opposite reaction. I'll tell you up front, I don't recognize a woman from a single-parent family as a worthy wife, she said sharply when we visited Steve's house to introduce ourselves as a couple for the first time. From then on, every time we met for wedding preparations, she responded to everything I said with sarcasm. She's just an old hag past her prime, and she's got a mother to take care of. My poor son, she would say. I could tolerate her insulting me, but I couldn't stand her speaking ill of my mother. After all, it was Steve who said he wanted to be part of our family. I bet you used some sly tricks to seduce my son, she accused. I didn't do such a thing, I replied. Well, your mother probably cheated on your father, and that's why he left. Ruth would lash out. Every time I tried to defend myself, she would attack me even worse. I thought about talking to Steve about it, but I didn't want to burden him with this unnecessary worry so close to our wedding. Ruth became more emboldened and interfered in the wedding plans. She even showed up the day we were picking out the wedding dress with my husband. I'll choose the best wedding dress for you, she announced. Mom has a great sense of style. She'll definitely pick a good dress if you're happy about it, aren't you? My husband chimed in. I appreciated their intentions. I want to choose my own dress. But I want to choose a dress that I personally like, I responded. But I came all this way for you. I'm so disappointed, my mother-in-law said, sounding wounded. Hey, don't make Mom cry, my husband snapped at me. He always sided with his mother, especially when she played the victim. But I couldn't give in when it came to my wedding dress, a highlight of the wedding. I'm really sorry, but I'll be choosing my own dress. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and I want to be completely satisfied with it, I stated firmly. Reluctantly, my mother-in-law backed off, but she held a grudge. On the morning of the wedding, she did something unthinkable. What an awful dress. The veil's tasteless too. You'd look better wearing a garbage bag with a supermarket sale flyer on your head, she exclaimed when she saw my wedding dress in the dressing room of the hotel where the ceremony was held. I was upset but wanted to avoid trouble on my big day, so I tried to stay calm. My mom, who loves sewing, made the veil herself. We chose the dress together. I really like it, I replied. You're going to wear something chosen by a woman who cheated and got dumped by her man. My mother-in-law suddenly shouted, furious. Then she splashed canned coffee from her purse all over my dress. Stop it. What are you doing? I exclaimed, watching in horror as my dress turned brown. I grabbed a towel to wipe it, but it was too late. The dress was ruined. This is what happens when you don't listen to me. I've left a dress I chose with the ceremony staff. You're wearing that for the wedding, okay? She stated and left the dressing room. She must have planned this, bringing the coffee to ruin my dress and having another one ready. Shaking with anger and frustration, I headed to the waiting room where my husband was and tearfully explained what happened. This is so unfair. It's going to ruin the wedding. What do you want me to do about it? He retorted. It's what your mother did. I've been silent until now, but there were other times. Enough already. You're annoying, he interrupted, shouting in anger. His expression was just like my mother-in-law's when she spilled the coffee on my dress. I was taken aback by his sudden change in attitude, but he quickly apologized. Oh, I'm sorry. I just can't deal with this right now. My husband was sweating and looked extremely tense. Feeling sorry for losing my temper, I decided to calm down and listen to him. You seem pretty stressed out. What's going on? I asked. Actually, the CEO of my company is suddenly attending our wedding. He happened to be at the hotel for work and met my boss. After hearing about our wedding, he prepared a gift and decided to attend since there was an empty seat due to a colleague's illness. What a coincidence. Showing off your skills here might lead to a promotion. You don't have time to worry about your dress. Just do as my mother says. I didn't appreciate his attitude, but it seemed useless to argue. I decided to leave the scene. Then the wedding began. The ceremony at the church on the hotel's rooftop went smoothly, and I was relieved until the family speeches at the reception. My mother-in-law went all out. Raised in a single-parent household, she lacks common sense and is an ugly bride, but I'll make sure to discipline her, she declared loudly, ignoring my father-in-law's pleas to stop. Just as I was about to explode with anger, a middle-aged man stood up with vigor and came over to me. You don't belong in a place like this, he said, staring at my mother-in-law. Then he started to lead me away. Who is that old man interrupting my speech? What nerve does he have? My mother-in-law shrieked as she watched the man leading me away. She shrieked, but next to her Stephen was turning pale. Why is the CEO here? It turned out that the middle-aged man was the CEO of Stephen's company. Stephen was sweating profusely and looked extremely flustered. We hurriedly left the reception hall and returned to the dressing room, leaving the confused guests behind. Why is my father here? I wondered. That's right, the CEO of Stephen's company was also my biological father. The reason for my parents' divorce was a personality mismatch. They fought constantly while working and decided to divorce because they thought it was negatively affecting me. Even after the divorce, my parents occasionally met. I saw my father several times a month and received proper child support until I became an adult. He even helped out when my mother needed care, so our relationship was very good. However, I hadn't asked much about my father's job. I couldn't believe my father was the CEO of Stephen's company. Even I was surprised by this coincidence. Why are you here when you said you had an important business meeting and couldn't attend my wedding? I asked my father. My business meeting ended much earlier than I thought, he replied. I decided to come here to give you the gift at least. Then I met one of the employees at the entrance. It seemed my father was the boss Stephen was talking about. He found out it was my wedding when he asked for the names of the bride and groom to prepare the gift. When I told the employee about the situation, I heard there was a last-minute cancellation and a seat was available, so I decided to participate. Why didn't you tell me then? I asked. After consulting with your mother, we decided to make it a surprise. I never imagined it would turn out like this, my father said, looking somewhat sad. Just as I was about to talk to my father, the door of the dressing room opened. Angela, you can't just run off like that. my mother-in-law said in a fake sweet voice. I had never heard her speak like that before, and it gave me goosebumps. She must have heard from her husband that my father was the CEO. Who do you think caused all of this? My father asked sternly. That was just a little joke, she replied, trying to brush it off. How dare you make such a vulgar joke at my daughter's big moment? That's even more unforgivable, my father retorted. What? No, it wasn't a joke. Then, so you're saying you seriously called my daughter ugly? Challenged my father. My mother-in-law was lost for words, repeating and well, her eyes darting back and forth. Suddenly, my husband rushed in, his footsteps echoing, and he prostrated himself before my father. I apologize for the rudeness of my mother, he said. You're apologizing to the wrong person, my father said, looking down at my husband with a cold gaze and a stern voice. Angela, I'm sorry. My mom did all this on her own. If that's the case, why didn't you stop your mother when she was insulting me? I asked. I was shocked and couldn't move. Besides, my dad tried to stop her. But it sure seemed like you were grinning and sitting pretty comfortably, I pointed out. That's just your imagination. Anyway, the only one to blame for everything is my mom, my husband shouted, pointing accusingly at his mother. Stephen, are you betraying your mama? Didn't we agree to discipline this cheeky wife together? My mother-in-law protested. Hey, don't say unnecessary things, my husband exclaimed, covering his mother's mouth to stop her from speaking further. Her muffled voice was truly comical. So would you like to explain what's really going on? My father asked. No, this is something my mother did on her own. It's for your own good, to be honest, right now, don't you think? My husband stammered. As my father continued questioning, my husband shuddered and finally began to speak. When Angela insisted on choosing her wedding dress, my mother said she would become a cheeky wife if not properly disciplined. What's wrong with choosing my own dress? I asked. It's only natural that a wife listens to her mother-in-law, isn't it? If you can't even do that, I thought you'd become a bad wife who wouldn't listen to her husband in the future. First of all, a married couple should be equals, right? There's no hierarchy. If I can't make you listen to me, there's no point in marrying a woman on the verge of becoming an old hag, my husband admitted. The truth finally slipped out. He had decided to marry me not because he loved me for who I am, but because he thought I would be a convenient tool to use. All those words about wanting to take care of my mother and becoming a family of 3 were just lies. Were they all lies? Of course, you had plenty of savings, didn't you? I was planning to use that to build a 2-family house. I wanted to make you work like a slave and live happily with my mother, but now it's all ruined. Once my husband started speaking his mind, there was no stopping him. He was not only intent on making me submit, but also willing to drain our savings. How selfish could a person be? Seeing my disgust, my husband seemed to realize he had misspoken and his face took on a shocked expression. No, that's not what I meant. That's it. It's over. You don't need a wife who won't spend money or act as a servant, do you? Wait a minute. I just lost my temper and blurted out something I didn't mean. As if I could believe that. I simply can't marry you. Sensing my resolve, my husband was visibly shaken, pacing around aimlessly. Then he seemed to remember something. Our wedding is today. We can't possibly send the guests home now. I will apologize to our guests and return their gifts. Since your mother is the cause of our canceled engagement, you will bear the costs of the wedding. You're joking. Even if we were to break up, it's your fault for making a fuss about one little outburst from my mom. As if it was just one time, huh? All the awful things you've said to me are right here. I pulled out my smartphone from my purse. I had recorded countless unbearable words from my mother-in-law. Pressing the play button, words like poor, ugly, harsh woman came out in quick succession in her unpleasant voice. When did I record all this? Well, I'm not a fool, you know. I will be claiming damages for emotional distress. I was just trying to discipline my daughter-in-law. I didn't do anything wrong. If you can't pay willingly, I'll take you to court. Please say the same thing in front of the judge. What are you talking about? This isn't a joke. Realizing she'd be at a disadvantage in court, my mother-in-law went pale and slumped on the spot. I'll reconsider your position at the company as well, my father added, with the final nail in the coffin. My husband finally broke down and fell to his knees. I'm sorry, Angela. Please forgive me. That's right, Angela. You're already married. You can't just divorce so easily. If we can overcome this wall, we'll make a great couple, right? My husband and mother-in-law started pleading. I forcefully shook them off and glared at them. Silence, scum, go to hell. With that, I left the dressing room. I then followed through with my declaration of canceling my engagement with Stephen and filed a claim for emotional distress against my mother-in-law. The full cost of the wedding was paid by my ex-husband, and the issue was finally settled. After that, my ex-husband was ostracized at work when his colleagues found out about the wedding fiasco. Additionally, at my father's behest, he was relocated to a remote branch in Nebraska, effectively a demotion. My former mother-in-law was scorned by her relatives for tarnishing their reputation and divorced by my former father-in-law. She was promptly kicked out of the house. I am now focusing on my work and have no interest in getting married again. Over time, my parents have also regained their composure, and we occasionally have family dinners. I am now living a very happy life. Ah, it's always locked, but it's open now. Before I could stop her, my daughter opened the drawer. Mom, what is this? She asked, looking upset. I looked inside and saw a divorce application and a handwritten letter, which I recognized by its unique quirks. When I picked it up, a photo fell out. It showed my husband with a woman and a boy about the same age as my daughter. On the back of the photo, along with a date, it read, "With my beloved." Seeing this, I immediately understood. Mom, does this mean Dad is cheating? My daughter asked. Let's take this opportunity to clear things up once and for all, I said, smiling at her. I then gave her instructions to tidy up. That day, we submitted the divorce application to the city court. After sorting everything out, we decided to leave our home. I am Anna. I live with my husband and our daughter, a family of 3. I met my husband Ethan when I was 28 years old. I was working as an office clerk, and he was in sales. We started talking through work, and since we both enjoyed drinking, we began going out for drinks more often. We grew closer, and after he confessed his feelings to me, we dated for 2 years before getting married. Things were going well for us. However, even a year after our marriage, we were not blessed with children. I wonder if not having kids is because of the alcohol, I complained to my husband. We both enjoyed drinking, so we had a habit of drinking before bed every night. He showed a complicated expression and said, I wonder, but drinking during pregnancy is not good, so let's quit once. I'll quit with you. Thank you, I replied. I'm worried because of my age. I'll go to the hospital too if necessary. I'll come with you, my husband said. My mother keeps nagging me to show her grandchildren. He laughed, and I laughed back, but my feelings were complicated. My mother-in-law isn't a bad person, but she is very eager for grandchildren. Anna, aren't you over 30? It gets harder to get pregnant after 30, you know. I'm worried, she would say. Ethan is an only child. The other day, Mrs. Morrison next door was flaunting her grandchild's photo. It's so annoying. Before we got married, she would make such comments and sigh deeply. Because of my mother-in-law, I started worrying about not being able to have children. She would call me without telling my husband, pressing for grandchildren. I thought it wasn't uncommon to be a first-time mother after 30 these days. However, being strongly pressured by my mother-in-law, I started to feel rushed. So I talked to my husband and we started infertility treatments. My husband was supportive, willing to undergo fertility tests with me. Since neither of us had any issues, we thought we would have a child soon. However, despite the accumulating treatment costs, I couldn't get pregnant. Gradually, my husband began to vent his frustration. Why can't you get pregnant? There's no problem, right? Just get it over with. You're taking off work to go to the hospital too much. Think about me working at the same place. What can I do? I want a baby soon too. It's hard for me to ask for time off. It's not just about you. Then quit your job. Stress isn't good, right? We can get by on my earnings alone, he said, clearly at his limit. Just quit tomorrow. Missing one clerk won't cause any trouble, and the gap will be filled quickly. Wait, just like that, all of a sudden. Let's do that. I'm going to bed now since it's early tomorrow. Good night. Saying this, my husband forcefully ended the conversation. Under his pressure, I quit my job. My dream of being an independent woman was cut short there. But I did want children, so I told myself it was fine to return to work after having a child. For now, I tried to stay positive and focus on trying to conceive. However, my hopes were gradually crushed. Hey, since you're not working, at least take care of the house properly. We don't even have kids. I'm sorry, the hospital was so crowded today. I could have come back earlier. And microwave pasta? Are you kidding me? Even when you were working, you managed to cook something decent. I'm sorry, I was just too tired. Sigh, I'm the one who's tired from working from morning till evening, and this is what I come back to? Forget it, I'll eat out today. Gradually, my husband became harsher towards me. It felt like verbal abuse, but since I had quit my job and was being supported by him, and with no results from our fertility efforts, I couldn't say anything. I spent my days walking on eggshells around my husband, who constantly complained about the housework. This behavior didn't change even in front of his mother, who, instead of reprimanding him, joined him in pressuring me for grandchildren. The stress was worse than when I was working. However, my wish was granted a year later when I became pregnant. It was unexplained infertility, but I was so glad I didn't give up. On the day I found out about my pregnancy, I decided to buy flowers on my way back from the clinic. This will make him return to his kinder self, I thought. But his reaction was lukewarm. Oh, that's great. Congratulations, that's good, he said. After all the talk about having children and quitting my job, I felt indignant. Still, I hoped things would change once the baby was born. Hey, clean up my study, and I don't need dinner today. I have a business trip coming up next week, so take care of the preparations, he said. That's too much. I've been suffering from severe morning sickness and can't eat anything. Everyone goes through that, right? Normally you'd be working, so you should at least be able to do that much, he replied. Leaving those words, my husband went off to work while I struggled with more morning sickness, trying to do as he said. During this time, I gave birth to our daughter, Nicole. The only thing that changed was that the calls from my mother-in-law for grandchildren stopped. However, she would still suddenly show up, wanting to see her granddaughter. But as long as she cared for Nicole, I could bear it. My husband's verbal abuse continued. While I was busy caring for Nicole, he would leave the household responsibilities to me and go out to drink freely. His late nights out and unauthorized overnight stays increased. You know you're being supported by me, so you should take care of the house and Nicole. Do you think you can live on your own with a child, unable to even keep a job? No way. My husband would come home drunk and hurl such insults at me repeatedly. All I could do was care for Nicole and listen. Hearing his verbal abuse over and over, I started to believe I couldn't divorce him, thinking I wouldn't be able to raise my daughter on my own. However, as Nicole grew, I began to feel a sense of urgency. When my husband started to get angry as usual, Nicole would say, "Mom, apologize quickly." She thought that would calm my husband's anger, and she was right. When I apologized, he would click his tongue and leave the room. Seeing my daughter always being considerate of her irritable father broke my heart. I finally started to consider divorce. This situation isn't good for our daughter's upbringing. I decided to start working part-time in secret, thinking of saving money for after the divorce. I didn't know what my husband Ethan would say if I told him I was starting a job, so I began working as a cashier at a supermarket during the mornings when Nicole was at school. I made sure not to neglect the household chores to avoid complaints from my husband. Time passed, and Nicole reached the 6th grade of elementary school. I told her about the divorce plan before she started middle school. She seemed relieved. "I'm glad we can finally get away. I'm sorry for making it tough on you, but everything will be okay now. I've saved up enough money." Overwhelmed with emotion, Nicole and I hugged each other. "We'll be free soon," I thought. One day, Ethan asked me to tidy up his study. Nicole was off school, and Ethan was supposed to be off work as well. However, he said, "I'm going on a business trip starting today. I won't be back for a week," and left the house with a large suitcase. It was common for him to suddenly leave for business trips. Nicole and I watched him leave as usual and then started to tidy up his study. "Why doesn't Dad clean up his room? It's too messy," Nicole said. "Really? He's made me do it for so long he probably can't do it himself anymore," I replied. "The worst, but we're getting divorced, right? We can get away. Just a bit more patience," Nicole said, picking up her father's clothes with a determined gesture. As I began tidying the desk and its surrounding papers, I noticed something unusual. The desk drawer, usually locked, was open. "Oh," I said. Nicole came over to see what was up. "Ah, it's usually locked, but it's open. Oh, just wait a moment." Before I could stop her, Nicole opened the drawer. "Mom, what is this?" She became visibly disturbed. I looked in as well and saw a divorce application with a handwritten letter, clearly my husband's handwriting with its unique quirks. When I picked it up, a photo slipped out. Dad, and who is this? Nicole asked. The photo showed Ethan with a woman and a boy about the same age as Nicole. On the back of the photo, along with a date, it read, "With my beloved." Realizing the implication, I quickly understood. Nicole, possibly grasping the situation, looked up at me anxiously. Mom, does this mean Dad is cheating? It seems so, but this might actually be for the best. What? Nicole asked. Let's take this chance to clean the slate completely. I smiled at Nicole and gave her instructions to tidy up. After finishing the cleanup, we decided to leave our home, packing only the essentials and arranging for a moving company to handle the rest. We moved into a short-stay apartment while searching for a permanent place to live. That day, we submitted the divorce application to the city court. From that day on, Ethan felt like an ex-husband to me. I considered hiring a detective agency, but wanting to save money for the future, I decided to look for evidence of the affair myself. My ex-husband underestimated me as I found evidence quickly. A simple search of his name brought up his social media, documenting trips and daily life, but not with me as the partner. There were also many videos and photos left on his computer, perhaps to save space on his phone. It was undeniable proof of the affair. Based on this, I sought legal advice. Then, on the day my ex-husband was supposed to return from his business trip, I received a call. "Hello? What the hell is this?" he shouted. "What do you mean? There's nothing left in the house. What did you do?" "You told me to tidy up, so I did what you asked. I tidied up," I said. "Stop joking and come back." "Where are you?" Ethan demanded. "I won't be returning. I'm divorcing you," I replied. "What? Why?" he asked, incredulous. "You have the nerve to ask. Cheating and starting another family, and you don't know why." "How did you find out?" he stammered. "You've been pretending to be on business trips. I've seen everything on your social media and computer. I even found out about the other home you have. All thanks to her parents, right?" "How?" Ethan was clearly shocked to learn how much I knew. "You were careless. You didn't think I would do something like this, did you? You'll struggle without me. How will you manage financially? A woman like you can't survive on her own," he sneered. "Maybe, but it's better than staying with an abusive husband like you. I'll be taking compensation and child support from you. Please communicate through my lawyer from now on. Goodbye." I hung up. My ex-husband tried calling several times, but I blocked him. Even my mother-in-law reached out. A good wife forgives her husband's affairs. Don't make such a fuss and come back home. Forgive an affair and abuse? With a son about my daughter's age? I can't do that. I won't be in contact with you or let you see my daughter. That's ridiculous. Even if you divorce, she's still my granddaughter. You can't take her away. This is also what my daughter wants. She suffered because of her father and doesn't want to see you either. That's absurd. Goodbye. I continued to block calls from her, feeling relieved to be rid of unnecessary burdens. I found a modest apartment for our next home and moved her belongings there. Despite using a significant portion of my funds, I felt relieved about starting anew. After moving, I initiated claims for compensation against my ex-husband, initially resistant. When I mentioned returning to my previous job, which was also his workplace, he quickly signed the documents. "Please don't do that. It'll ruin my reputation," he pleaded. My previous workplace was also my ex-husband's. He must have realized it was only a matter of time before it became known. He signed out of self-preservation, agreeing to a lump sum payment. Then, through the lawyer, the mistress requested to meet. It seems she's quite remorseful and wants to apologize in person. Persuaded by the lawyer's words, I agreed to meet. I chose a cafe as the meeting place. The woman who appeared was well-dressed and beautiful. "Nice to meet you. My name is Tracy Brown. I sincerely apologize for the trouble I've caused," she said. "Nice to meet you," I replied. An awkward silence filled the air. I had no intention of forgiving her, but I was curious about her side of the story. She began to speak slowly, revealing that she initially thought he was single. When she discovered she was pregnant, Ethan confessed he was married but promised a swift divorce. However, soon after, my pregnancy came to light, and he told her a divorce was no longer possible. Her parents suggested she could still have a family with him, and she accepted their proposal. In reality, we were not divorced, and the marriage registration we submitted was never processed. "So you've been with my husband for over 12 years?" I asked. Yes, he had told me he divorced 10 years ago, but I continued the relationship for 3 years even after knowing about you. I am truly sorry. Now I've decided to end things with Ethan. I loved him, but I've realized I was just convenient for him. How so? The moment he knew you found out, he started treating me like a cash cow. My parents are quite generous with me, their only child, and he depended on that. Our life was largely supported by my parents, and his lies became unforgivable. I see. And this is the compensation for my parents. She handed me a white envelope. I silently accepted it. She apologized until the end and then left. Perhaps she too was fooled by a foolish man. Afterwards, my daughter and I started a new life. When I explained my situation to my part-time job, they offered me a full-time position. Nicole no longer had to tiptoe around an adult's mood at home and seemed to smile more. I too have begun to feel more at peace. What would you like for dinner tonight? I asked. I want an omelette, Nicole replied. Great idea. With ketchup then. All right, love you, Mom. Love you, Nicole. We spent the evening laughing together, planning to live for each other's happiness moving forward.